Hello and welcome to IndiePod, an indie games podcast, your weekly source for all the indie games news you need to know. This week we are bringing you 3 awesome indie game news stories before, of course, we hop in to News Cram, God bless the crowd, and answer all of your listener questions. But before we get into any of that, I would like to introduce myself, Vaughn Hyde, my illustrious co-host, the biggest of average Josh boys, and to go back to shitting on him every time we have a guest, fuck you, because we have Mrs. Well, actually, I guess I didn't actually ask your pronouns, but I just fucked up anyway, so might as well just go with it. We've got Kaitlyn Redwing, and I'm going to be honest, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because I don't actually know how to say the name of your podcast. So, Kaitlyn, where are you from? What do you do? Why should we all love you? That last question is kind of just for me, you know?
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that last question because self-deprecating humor.
That's fucked up.
It's very fucked up.
Yeah,
we're starting off on a good foot. It's big Sweert Gaming.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I was always like Sweert.
No, that works. It was a typo, and we rolled with it because we are anything but perfect, and we make a lot of mistakes. So that's our brand. It's my brand.
I'm so glad it's all encompassing.
Yeah.
It's just like, we're gonna fuck up. You just be prepared for it. Okay.
People just
That's great.
You're just gonna have to deal with not knowing how to say our name. It makes marketing super easy. But yeah.
I bet.
I'm sure. I
Dude,
mean,
trust
hey,
me.
we used
That's
to be
what I was
called
gonna say.
Indie Incursion Podcast, and everyone thought we were a weird dish. And they were like, "Oh, is that like an Indian cuisine?" And we're like, "No, it's an indie games podcast." So we had to rebrand to just IndiePod. So we get it.
Yeah.
It works though. It's a better name. Thank you, Big Josh Boy, for that, by the way. So, Kaitlyn, are you anywhere else? I know you write for some sites, correct? Am I wrong in that?
Not right now. I used to.
That's fine.
Yeah, I used to write for Game Savvy, which is sadly no longer. I'm mostly like in PR right now. Kind of like
That's sweet.
in between jobs. You know, this is a great intro. I've got nothing going on right now. But
This is basically your take. You're like, someone hire me.
yeah, basically. But no,
Indie developers do listen to this podcast. I'm just letting you know that.
Well,
however fucked up it is, they do listen.
But and so I do pro bono PR
You do?
work. I do. PP and do.
Making a
Just-
good, strong case
yeah,
for you
I
right
know.
now.
No, I do pro bono PR work for indie game developers with a
Nice.
company called Posthorn PR. So if you are an indie game developer and you're looking for literally free PR work, look up Posthorn PR on. We've got a website, or you can find us on Twitter, Posthorn PR. It's also in my bio on Twitter, which is just Kaitlyn Redwing. But yeah, that's a lot of fun. I love doing PR and I love helping out indies, especially like game developers, because you know normally you can't not that you can't afford PR, but you shouldn't have to pay for
It's a bit of a tighter budget,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
especially because like PR agencies, they're expensive, so
And everyone thinks PR is so easy, and I'm like, dude, I run like 3 Twitter accounts, and I do it in a very mediocre fashion. It is actually much more difficult than you'd expect.
and a
Like,
lot of
it's kind of a pain.
and a lot of PR companies like don't even do social. Like
What?
it's yeah.
Fun.
I've done
That's weird.
Yeah, I've done
Gotta
a
do it on your own.
couple. I've ran a couple social media accounts for clients, but for the most part, like we don't even touch it. Like you've got to go and find a special social media agency that like only does that. I'm not sure if it's just agencies are like, I don't know. It's just really expensive.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does sound annoying.
I mean, that sounds like everything. They're just like, how about we charge you for every nitpicky detail? Oh my god, it's literally the DLC thing again, but in real life.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
shit. Jeez, this is fantastic. I'm so glad we have you on here. I've had a serious question for you ever since you went on Active Quest. Is your name actually Kaitlyn Redwing, or are you just a fan of like the hockey team
No,
or something?
it's okay. Hockey players right there.
Yeah.
But my last name really is Redwing. And it
Holy
is,
shit.
It is 2 words.
Wow. Do you have a middle name, or it's
so
just
cool?
No, my middle name's Rose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, so you got 4 names. Good to know.
I have 4 names.
What about your social security number?
Oh, that-
Like, you want to give us that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
could you give us some credit card information
Yeah,
too? You
I'm
know?
gonna write it all down and like people can take a screenshot.
Perfect.
Yeah, I have like
Oh.
a Persian princess I'm trying to save right now, so I'm actually in dire need of funds. So if you'd like to, like, just feel free to
Yes,
donate, you know?
I want to save all the princesses. Funny story. Kind of a funny story. A few years ago, I was going to interview for a job. It was an internship. It was my senior year of college. And I'm getting ready in the morning, and I get a phone call, and it's like Michigan State Police is what my phone was like trying to tell me who was calling me.
You're like caller ID?
Yeah, the caller ID. And I answer it, and this person answers. She sounds just like her whole intro is like, "This is the Michigan State Police, like Department of Investigations, like I don't know something." And she's like, "You can like Google our number." She's like, "I swear we're real." That should have been a red flag. But I did Google the number, and it was the like right number. But I know they can spoof phone numbers. But at the time, I just like didn't think of it. And she went into this whole thing about how they raided a house in Texas that was like full of cocaine. It was like the Mexican cartel. And everything had my name and social security number on it. And she's like, "Do you own any property in Texas?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "Do you own any vehicles out of Texas?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "Well," she's like, "we're going to have some people come and like interview you, or you're going to have to come in." And I'm like sweating at this point. Like she was like so serious. And then she was like,
I'm just waiting for you to say there was another option where she's like, or you can pay us $5,000
Yeah.
in Target gift cards.
But then she started asking me, she's like, "How much debt do you have? How many credit cards do you have open right now?" And I was like, "What is happening?" But
Oh my
and
God.
then I like
See, this is why I never answer phone calls.
Yeah, me
I'm
neither.
so
I screen
neurotic
my
about
phone
this.
calls like
yeah,
no other.
I'll never,
Yeah.
because there's so many calls where they're like, "Your social security number has expired. You have to act fast," and you're like, "That doesn't happen."
this is
What?
probably the only phone call I've answered in like 10 years. It just because I had my interview and I was like, well, maybe it's like them calling or my phone is
From the
right,
police
and it
station.
is the police station. I don't know. It was rough. And then I went into this interview just like constantly thinking like I'm in trouble or someone's
no.
stolen my identity. I got the job, but
Well, phew, I guess
Good
it was
for
all
you.
worth it.
yeah.
I mean,
Kept
you're
you on your
sweating
toes.
bullets in the interview. Did you tell this story and you're just like, I'm cool under pressure. Let me tell you how things are going for me right now.
I did at the
And
end.
then they were just like, okay.
They like asked
Well,
me
that's
if
awesome.
how I was feeling, and I was like, I've got a story for you. I was like, this whole time, honestly, I've been thinking that my identity is stolen. But
And then they were like, "Yeah, but how many credit cards do you have? Do you have any debt?" Do you... Turns
Would
out it
you
was
be
the
willing
same
to open
person.
It
another
was
one
actually
to,
them.
Maybe.
is that
Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad we've got such an amazing introduction to your character for this podcast. I'm gonna actually say that you're probably the best fit we've had for a guest, just randomly going into a story that means nothing. I
Yeah.
very much appreciate it.
It's-
You've got my energy, and I'm loving it. I'm feeling good. This is gonna be
I
a
am
great
too.
episode. But of course, this is about indie games. I'm not gonna go into any stories or anything like that. Don't worry, everybody. We're not gonna talk about any of my weird shit this week. Instead, I want to ask the biggest of average Josh boys about a game he's been playing called Donut County by Ben Esposito. Are you playing this on Game Pass now that it came to Game Pass PC?
Hell yeah. Game Pass all day, every day, baby. You're really just gonna skip through all of our housekeeping items, though?
No, I'm not. Thanks for bringing that up.
Oh, I
Of
guess we're
course
not
we've got some
talking.
housekeeping.
Ooh.
Fuck you, Josh, once again.
Ooh.
So, thank you for that. So we've got some housekeeping, as per usual, just showing how fantastic of a host I am. One, we've got our Thomas Olsen interview for Olija, I believe is the
Olija.
name. The developer. Oh, okay, say it again.
Olia.
I'm never going to be able to say that. That's impossible.
Elijah.
That's- yeah, we've got Elijah Wood.
We got Elijah Wood.
Thomas
We
Olsen
have
from
a-
Elijah Wood.
We have this place
Yeah.
right by right by this this burrito taco place, and it's called Los Bocados. And every time I see it, I always, in the whitest voice I can, turn to my wife and I'm like, "You want to go to Los Bocados?" I love saying Spanish words really wrong. It is the funniest thing to me. There's this video out there where it's this white guy, like, think of like a white guy, like, you know, kind of like Southern accent, like very white guy.
Is
that
it-
you
But
can
if I
imagine.
had sex with my cousin.
Yeah,
that's what
kind of
you're
like
thinking about?
that.
I was gonna say,
Exactly.
or Christian, who I do my podcast with.
Yeah, there you
Most
go.
Texan boy.
He's like talking about this dog that he adopted, and he's like, I adopted this dog, and it only knows Spanish. So I had to learn Spanish, and so he's like, Dame la mano, dame la otra, and it is the funniest fucking video. He's like, Bien boy, and he's petting the dog. Oh man, it is so funny to me. Anyway, sorry. Aaliyah is a great game. You should listen to that developer interview. Good times.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's if you don't know what it is, it's actually, you've probably seen it a couple times between the Devolver Directs and the Nintendo Indie World Showcase. It looks very, very interesting, so please check that out. Of course, our developer interviews go live on Wednesdays. That is one day after for patrons of this episode, of course, if you're listening, and 2 days before for plebes, because you're watching on the free services, and that's cool. That's cool. We love you all too. So now we got to move on to the IndiePod store, where you can get our t-shirts and stickers. We're eventually going to have some other stuff. I'm just going to keep saying it. And
I
then,
know.
you
Eventually,
what?
we should really actually do something.
Yeah, I'm manifesting that. I'm giving myself the energy. You know how they say you put the energy out into the world and it brings it back? Hoping somebody else will do it for me.
Yeah,
that's exactly what
that's what I'm
hoping's gonna
hearing.
happen.
You're like, where are those fans who start doing really cool shit for us? You know?
Phil, you've got the most amazing voice. Just somehow distill it and sell it for IndiePod. That's what I'm guessing. That's what I want you to do. Then we've got our IndiePod YouTube channel. Go over there. It's just over on YouTube. Type in IndiePod. You can find these episodes on video, which will be fantastic. You get to see Kaitlyn looking great, Josh looking great, me
Hell
looking
yeah.
like a piece of shit. That's how this stuff goes. And
I'm the
of course-
self-deprecating one.
Oh,
You take a pass
no.
this week.
You don't even know, dude. I talk so much shit about myself, and it's hilarious. I very
great.
much enjoy it. But please check out Josh's. I'm gonna be honest. I'm blanking on it. What Omori? Check out Josh's Omori video. It is almost to 200 views. Josh is very proud of it. I'm very proud of it. It's a great video. Please check it out. Please leave us reviews on any platform you can, specifically iTunes, because I've heard through the grapevine that it helps us in some way, but I still don't really believe it, because it hasn't yet. But if you
and
guys
it
can make
probably
it happen,
never will.
I mean, yeah, that's the sad reality of the fact. And lastly, thank you so much to our patrons. We've got Will C, Mixomatosis, aka Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Renshaw, the Wombat Emperor of Australia. Then we've got Chris Penwell. He's always drinking tea, dude. He's always drinking tea. And the funniest thing is, I brought that up to him. He didn't think I was actually going to bring that up all the time. That's what's going to happen.
And
You
that's
can't
why
say you want me to call you something and then fucking take it back.
And that's why this segment always takes so damn long.
That's absolutely why. We've got Josh Nichols and Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you all so much for being patrons. You're all amazing. We love you. I'm going to kiss you all in the mouth one day, especially that big Chris boy. You know what's up, dude? But now we actually get to talk about Donut County by Ben Esposito. Unless I forgot anything, Big Josh boy. Did I? Did I forget anything?
I don't know. I'm not paying attention.
Okay. Kaitlyn, do you know if I forgot anything?
I would like to kiss everyone on the mouth. I miss all my friends. It's my only comment.
Fuck, dude. We have the same energy, and I'm really appreciating
Yeah.
it today.
Oh
Okay.
man, I'm gonna get booted.
See ya!
God.
We've been talking about getting a third on the podcast for the longest time. May have just found it. Okay,
Oh,
just
hot
saying.
damn.
My huge
We
spiel
did just
about-
help you troubleshoot for 50 minutes, so
Yeah,
did.
that's an investment right there.
Yeah,
We
I
put in the
owe
time.
you so much. How much time do you need? I'll give it. I have nothing going on because I'm jobless.
That's
I
true.
mean, dude, you better watch out saying that. I lock people down for thousands of years. Ask Big Josh boy. He's got
stuck in this
he's got a
contract.
contract for an eternity.
I'll sign
I've been trying to leave IndiePod for years. I'm just stuck here.
I'll sign any
So, Josh.
contract. I won't read it.
Whew.
That's how I.
That's a bold
Damn,
statement.
We are the same fucking person. We are the same person. So, Donut County by Ben Esposito. Tell me about it, Josh. And why do you love this raccoon boy who's just swallowing up the entire universe?
Yo, he's dope. He's kind of a dick. Donut County is really cool. I will say, so here, let me start with some negatives from Donut County, even though there's a lot of positives. So Donut County is super short. This is a game where I think it is a perfect representation of Game Pass is great because you can quickly start something and stop something. It's only about an hour or 2 hours, which is good if you just want something small to pick up and play. It's a very chill game. When you look at Donut County, it is this game where it's you are literally a giant hole in the ground and you are just eating things. And things fall into this hole in the ground. And as you eat these things, the hole gets bigger. So the whole part is, it's kind of like a puzzle game of like finding the smaller pieces and then finding the bigger pieces as the hole gets bigger. It's very Katamari Damacy in that realm. Unfortunately, with Katamari Damacy, like, I came into this thinking it was very similar to that and being like, oh, I love Katamari because there's this element of it being like tough because it's try to collect as much as you can. You're on a timer. There's different like objectives to do. This one's not as much like that, which is honestly a little bit of my negativity comes into my perception of this game. This isn't that style. It's more of a very chill game. Like, I wouldn't really put this as like a puzzle game and the idea of like, oh, there's going to be these really tough things that you have to do. It's more of just like a chill, relaxing game. You're kind of like trying to fit the pieces in the puzzle hole. There's a couple of different ways that they get a little bit more creative, and they have an end boss, which I thought was interesting and a cool way to do it. Like, the game kind of seems like a prototype for what could be a much longer game, which I'd love to see, because there were some cool aspects that came later of using things where you got like a catapult and you'd have to shoot things out of the hole that you had collected and interact with the world in different ways afterwards. But that came a little bit later, and like I said, it's a very short game itself. So it's one of those things where I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was awesome. I really loved the actual story to it. Like, the raccoon is pretty much an asshole who's just eating the entire world, and he just doesn't understand. And they're like, the whole story is them being stuck underground and like yelling at the raccoon, and he's just like, what? I helped everyone out, because he kind of like did in a way.
Isn't it kind of like a situation where he gave them what they asked for, and it turned out that they just didn't fucking think about it?
Kind of, yeah. So like, he doesn't understand that like a donut isn't like a giant hole, and so whenever they ordered a donut, he's basically just eating their worlds essentially. But he like gets rid of their problems at the same time in a way where he wasn't really anticipating to, but he's just like, yeah, I'm the hero of the story, and they're like, no. But anyway, this is one of those games where I struggle recommending it if you're not using something like Game Pass, because it is kind of pricey. Like, this is a game where I'd say definitely pick it up when it goes on sale. Like, it is a really cool game. I do love the fact that I played it, but it wasn't the style that I was looking for from like that Katamari Damacy like challenging perspective. And it's a little bit pricey because if you go to Steam, I think it's like $15, which, I understand the ask, and like, I argue that time doesn't equate to that value of what you're getting. Like, you could still have a great time and have that, but if you're looking for a longer game, this probably isn't the one you want to throw money down for. But if you have Game Pass, fucking download this shit. Like, what are you waiting for?
Would you say $5 is a good price? That's what
I would say $5 is a good price.
That's what it is on Apple.
Yes. So that is the thing. It's very strange pricing, and I kind of hate how, like, this is the same thing with Among Us, like how it's free on your phone, but then on other platforms they're like $5, and you're like, why though?
Right.
What's going on here? Like, you're not getting anything different. And honestly, probably this works a little bit better on your phone because you're literally like, you're dragging this hole around and you would just be doing it with your finger. Like, otherwise you're just doing it with a mouse, which is kind of weird. It like doesn't work as well because it's a little bit slower. But yeah, I would say if you don't have Game Pass, it's probably better to just get it on your phone, because the $5 purchase, like, I think is a very fitting price for it. But otherwise it's a little like, I might wait for a sale if you're going to get it on Steam or something like that. But fun overall.
Caitlin, have you played Donut County, Caitlin?
No, and I've always wanted to, because I love Anna Pirna's Interactive, all their games. So I actually thought this game was on Apple Arcade, and that's why I went and checked, because I think there are other games.
Wouldn't put it past them.
The Path.
Like, Annapurna does like a bunch of different. They publish a bunch of different games. So I think technically, like, Grindstone is published by Annapurna, and it's on Apple Arcade.
So the Pathless
I think
is
so.
and Sayonara Wild Hearts are both their two games that are on Apple Arcade right now. Which I just played Sayonara Wild Hearts for the first time like last week, and then I just downloaded the Pathless because I wanted it. I just thought it was a PlayStation game. Didn't realize that it was Apple Arcade.
The publisher is not Annapurna for Grindstone.
For
It is
Grindstone?
Capybara Games and I Am 8-Bit Inc.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Well, that's super cool. I've wanted to check out Donut County for a really long time.
It's a very chill experience. I recommend it. I'd much more recommend it if you have Game Pass or if you play on the mobile version.
See, that's the thing is like I didn't want to pay $20 on my PC or on like any console because I don't play like games on my phone really, but it's also because my phone's just a piece of shit. Literally, like I'll turn on the actual display of my phone. Every second that I do, 1 battery percentage goes down. I'm not.
Oh my god!
joking.
How do you live?
It's the most fucked up thing, dude. It's so messed up. I
just bought it.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I saw the other day that you were super excited that you got an iPhone and switched from Android because now you can do the like recording your voice on Twitter. Yeah.
Stupid reasons. My Samsung phone was perfectly fine. I'm just insane and got.
But you
Sounds
couldn't.
about right.
Yeah, you couldn't record your voice on Twitter.
Exactly.
That sounds like.
Sounds like a reason to
really,
pay a ton of money.
I get bored and then I'm like, I need something new. Let's spend thousands of dollars on technology.
Oh.
Don't be like me.
Wow.
No way.
I really cannot stress enough how much we are the same person. Speaking of, Kaitlyn, I'm going to let you go next. The games that you are playing. The first game I want to ask you about is Dadish 2 by CatCup Games.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this game?
It looks pretty cool. I've never heard about it before.
So funny. That's also a mobile game. You can probably. It comes out on the Switch, or it did just come out on the Switch last week for like $10. So if you like platformers with like really, kind of like dry pun-filled humor, like you should play this game. The platforming's awesome, but you play as it's Dadish. It's kind of like 2 words. It's Dad Radish. So you play as a little radish. His children come to like visit him at work, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And they're like, "Why do you work here? There's like saws everywhere and like there's flooding." He's like, "I don't know. It's just corporate, like it's just how it is," kind of thing. I'm butchering the delivery. It's so perfect in the game. Which, like I'm for any capitalism type games that just like poke fun at the absurdity of corporate America, corporate world. Like there's one part. And they're like, "Why do you work at this job?" He's like, "I don't know." He's like, "The company like holiday parties in 11 months." And it's like, that's perfect. That's the kind of humor
That's what you got to look forward to.
I never played the first game, but I don't think you need to. I think the only thing, like maybe some jokes would land maybe a little bit better if you played the first one, because I know like there's this giant burger like monster who shows up in the second game, and they like reference that he was the villain boss in the first game. I don't know. It's crazy. Sometimes there's like little raccoon dudes who are like running around in the background, and I'm like, "What is that thing?" And they're riding a tiny burger that has shoes on.
Ooh, this sounds like my kind of game.
It's kind of a trip. The platforming is a lot of fun. However, on the phone, there are like certain situations where it's like you have to get it at the right pixel, or else you like fall into a hole, and that makes me think like it might be a little bit better on the Switch if you can play with a controller. Or I guess you can. It has controller adaptability for like mobile phones. I just haven't done that because I'm lazy. But yeah,
makes sense. Can I ask a quick question about this?
Yeah.
So this one, it looks like the mobile like version of it is free, but there's in-app purchases. Do you know what, like, is that something where there's lives or something?
I think it's just like $3-4 to get rid of ads. So like every once in a while when you die, you have to like see a quick ad, but it hasn't bothered me because a lot of the ads you can skip. So.
Okay.
Yeah. But no.
You're like, I just see like 75 Clash of Clan ads like every time I try to play. It's fun.
No.
Every time you press the jump button.
I would have bought the premiere like version to get rid of those ads, but the ads haven't bothered me yet. Unless they get like worse throughout the game. Which they might. Or I get worse at the game and then I see more. Also fair.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Honestly, game looks cute as fuck. It's like just
so
this little
cute.
radish like platformer. I think it's so awesome. How far are you into it? I saw that over on the Nintendo Switch it's $9.99. We don't often talk about like justifying a purchase based on price, but given how much you have played, would you recommend that people pick it up for $9.99?
I think so.
I mean, you said that you'd pay $5 to get rid of ads.
That is a strong recommendation.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm trying to remember. I might be able to pull it up and see if there's like levels because I don't know.
It says 50 rad levels in the description.
Okay, then yeah, I would think $10 is worth it.
Plus they're rad.
Awesome.
Plus they are rad and dads. Ish.
And there's a bunch of dad and radish puns.
Yes.
I mean, shit.
Well, more to look
Plus
for.
it shits on corporate America. You're just checking so many boxes.
I took so many screenshots the other night and kept sending them to my friends at like 4 a.m. Like, God help my friends. I love you guys. Thank you for putting up with me because I was like in tears laughing.
That's awesome.
Good.
Yeah. If you don't find
Nice.
it funny and you play it, you have permission to attack me for it because
You're like, feel to unfollow me. I don't want you following me if you don't find these puns funny.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, but that's what I'm playing. And then
There's another game you have written down here. It's called A Monster's Expedition by, oh my god, I'm gonna fuck this up. Draknek and Friends. So tell us about this bad boy, this puzzle game.
Yeah.
It looks weird as hell.
It's so weird. This is an Apple Arcade game, which I bought an iPad. Here's me going into more stories. I bought an iPad in July, and I've been like obsessed with Apple Arcade and playing games on my iPad. Like, I bought the Pro. I haven't really used it for anything except for playing games and like drawing occasionally. You know, it's good purchase.
All right.
But yeah, Draknek and Friends. I think it's just made by like 4 or 5 friends. Like, it's not. I don't even know if they have a studio, but it's just you play as this like little monster guy. He's got like a little backpack on. It's open world, I think is how it's described, but the world is not like super open. You're kind of limited because basically it's a puzzle game where you're like chopping down trees, which, you know, great for the environment, but you're a monster. Who cares? And you have to like push the tree trunks a certain way. There's like rocks to stop it from falling into the water. So you kind of have to think like, which way do I cut the tree down? And you're making your way through this world. And throughout the world, there's these like, I think like the first one was a library, and you go up to it. There's like little plaques you can read. And this like monster is learning about humans and humanity while he's like exploring. I don't know. It's super cute. It's a very like mindless game. The music is very relaxing. Art style is beautiful. I haven't had any bugs. So if you have Apple Arcade, I recommend downloading it. I think it's only on Apple, but it might be on Steam as well.
Yeah, there's a Steam.
Yeah. Which, I don't know, it's probably not free on Steam. I have to pay like a little bit.
Let me do a quick check. I think it is $20.
$20. Okay. I don't know how long the game is, so I don't know if I can recommend paying $20 if you have access to Apple Arcade or do a free trial of that. I would recommend that probably. But
Have you, Kaitlyn, just because, like, I'm looking at some of the stuff for this game, have you played a game called Felix the Reaper? It came out in 2019.
I haven't played it, but
It does feel very similar to it.
Yeah,
sounds
I would,
similar.
if you're a fan of, like, interesting, like, music tracks and just weird, like, quirky humor about basically, like, a Reaper that falls in love with an angel, and is just desperately trying to, like, see her, I think you might actually like it if you like this sort of, like, puzzle game.
I'm writing a book that's literally that.
There you go. There you go.
That's-
I mean, somebody stole your idea, but whatever.
They did
You
it.
should probably sue them, right?
I probably
No,
should.
That's just the natural avenue these days, is to sue people.
Yeah, about my book that will like never come out, but I'm just obsessed with the Grim Reaper, and I was like, what if the Grim Reaper fell in love?
What if?
What if? And
Have
also
you seen
had a
those
little
comics that are
fungus.
really depressing and cute where the Grim Reaper is just like collecting all these dead cute animals, but it's actually like really uplifting?
No.
It's a little weird. So like one of them is about like a fox that falls into a pool and ends up like drowning, but the Grim Reaper like grabs him and basically like brings him to the afterlife, and Life is all talking about how she creates all these amazing things. It's really weird. I would actually check out the comics. They're really sweet. I don't know what they're called. I see them on iFunny all the time. But speaking of just horrible transitions into things naturally, what I do, the games that I am playing this week, I'm playing more Ashen by 844. So last week I talked about how annoying that one specific dungeon was because it was just darkness all the time.
Yeah.
And how I couldn't upgrade my lantern, and it just, like, there was no way to get more light.
Turns out there was a way.
Yeah, it turns out there is a way to upgrade your lantern, but you know what's even worse? It only sheds like an inch more light. It's the worst upgrade I have ever purchased in a video game. It's the fucking worst. And then I was like, you know what? I'm finally out of this area that's just pure darkness. And then it's like, oh, you thought you were done? Nah, motherfucker. There's this whole, like, basically gauntlet of dickheads with spears that explode when they throw shit at you. It's like, it was the most annoying thing ever. I died, like, 5 times, and it turns out I wasn't even going the right way. Like, it pissed me off. But just playing some more Ashen, really enjoying it. Sadly, I've had a little bit less time to play games this week because my school started up this week and everything. But
for shame. Get off.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Fun game though. 100% recommend Ashen if you like Souls-likes, but this one's a little bit more chill, which I do enjoy. I find it a little bit more relaxing than everything else, even though at times it makes me want to punch myself. But it's good stuff. I would check it out. It's a fun game. In the other game I've been playing this week, if you caught us on our stream, been playing Deep Rock Galactic with the big Josh boy. This is by Ghost Ship Games. Deep Rock Galactic, super fun. I really, really enjoyed it. It was a fun stream. Super weird game, honestly.
Yeah,
like shooting the bug boys, I was a fan. It's way more, I guess, intensive than I thought it would be. There's like 6 million commands, and Josh is just like, I'm playing on controller, so you're gonna have to figure out how to work this by yourself, dude. Like,
I mean, you could have took 2 seconds to look at the controls, but you're the stubborn one, just being like, I'll just press all the buttons and figure it out eventually.
Yeah, I love how you were like, just call the like donkey thing over to you, and I was like, I don't remember how.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
and I was literally just like dying over and over again. It was good shit. By the way, also, Kaitlyn, I need you to know, this kid's a piece of shit. We're just about to finish the first mission. Just about to finish this level, and he just throws C4 at me and kills me.
And just gets on the ship and leaves.
Yes.
I was like, congratulations on your first mission. You failed.
Piece of shit, dude. I was literally like, I was so excited because I got through the entire mission without dying. I felt really good about myself considering the first time I played Risk of Rain 2 with Josh, I died like 6 times, and then he just kills me at the end of the match.
On purpose,
He just
right?
fucking murdered me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
There was no
He
enemies
just-
around.
Good.
It was
Good job.
Literally, I was just sitting there and he's like, hey, check this out. And then I was like, what? Blew up. I was dead. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
It's great. I love it.
Such a piece of shit, dude. I love that, like, now these like streams are basically just you getting back at me for calling you the biggest of average Josh boys and shit, like, and being really uncomfortable.
This is what you get.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thursday streams are just me showing you how bad you are at games, and then rubbing it in your face.
You gotta love it. Do you have a friend like that, Kaitlyn, who just likes to show how big of a piece of shit you are?
No, I'm that friend.
Oh, okay.
Kaitlyn's a mix of both of us.
A little bit.
There you go.
Well, I'm glad we all have very similar energy.
I'm that
This is
asshole
good
in
stuff.
like Fall Guys where I come up and grab you and we both die, and I'm like, no,
Oh,
we're not making it through this round because you said something mean.
the kamikaze.
Yeah.
Dude, I still love that people got so annoyed with the person who was like so fast, but then just chilled at the end and like played guard and just threw people off the edges. That shit was so funny. And the amount of like think pieces that were written about people like shitting on other people's good times were the funniest things. I was like, you realize you're just feeding into it right now, right?
I was
Like-
so good at the seesaw level for no reason at all. I don't know why or how. And I would always be like the first one. I was like, I'm gonna stand here and I'm gonna ruin someone's day.
And the funniest thing is, like, then if you were to see like a Polygon article written about how you ruined their day, you're like, I feel so gratified.
Right.
This is what I'm gonna do.
If they're like,
this is my calling.
Yeah, they're like, these are the worst people ever. These people are assholes. I'm like, yes.
Oh my
We
god.
made it.
When I worked at GameStop, I had somebody write me he wrote a customer survey about me and said that I was the worst that he had ever had. And I was like, at least I'm the best at something, dude.
It's so good.
Gotta make an impression.
I mean, it was the same guy who said that I was breaking the law because I wouldn't let him basically use us as a pawn shop. So, like, I was like, no. And then he's like, worst customer service I've ever had. I mean, he wasn't the guy who said I probed him like the IRS, which I still think is the funniest thing.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, so this guy, when I worked at GameStop, we had like a buy two, get one free deal. And so he bought two. He got one free, and then he came in and wanted to basically like refund one of the two that he purchased, but keep the free game. And I was like, I can't let you do that, but you can return one of the games that you purchased and just buy a game of similar value, of the same value or greater, and then you just pay the difference. And he, like, for some reason felt like I was probing him like the IRS because I refused to give him a game for free. I was like, dude, that's not how this works.
And he used the term probing.
Yep,
Yeah,
I probed him like the IRS.
Wow.
Well, sometimes you just got to give them a good probing. You know what I'm saying?
Some people need one.
Oh, that's so true, dude. That's so true. Like Big Josh Boy, he's aching for a probing. But speaking of probing, let's hop over to our first news story. This one is over on Polygon. It is written by Charlie Hall, and it's kind of an interesting news story. We've only seen the beginning of it, so let's get into this. So, Tencent buying majority stake in Don't Starve maker Klei Entertainment. Chinese tech giant Tencent will purchase a majority stake in Klei Entertainment, the Canadian indie developer behind Don't Starve. Studio founder Jamie Chang announced Friday on the company's official forums. As part of this agreement, Chang wrote, Klei retains full autonomy of creative and operations across all aspects of the studio, including projects, talent, and more. Chang cited a changing industry as a major factor in the decision. Klei was first okay, that doesn't matter. So basically it goes on to say that, like, they had actually tried to look for some investment seemingly from different companies, but they believe Tencent to be the one that would give them exactly what they wanted, which would be, I think they say, we looked at a lot of different companies, Chang said in a post, and over the years we've worked with a large number of publishers and distributors. Tencent is the only company that we felt would let us retain the level of control that we demand, which I think is pretty interesting. But considering you're all like you're like down with the corporate structure, Kaitlyn, I want to ask you, how do you feel about Tencent purchasing a majority stake in an independent developer, considering that, like, everything that happened with, like, Blizzard this past year, right? I think it was technically in 2020 with the whole, like, the Hong Kong stuff that happened with Blizzard. How do you feel about Tencent kind of like purchasing even more share in the games industry?
I want to remain optimistic. However,
but
I think
yeah, the big but.
Like, I think the consolidation, it's because it's basically consolidating. We're just seeing, like, large companies either buying majority stake or whole, like, completely, like, buying out the studio, absorbing them. I don't know. It's tricky. They can go one or two ways. They can be good, where they kind of, like, let the developers continue to make the games that they want to make, without any higher-ups kind of, like, dictating how those games are made or, like, what those games can cover. I think, like, best-case scenario, it just kind of limits, like, when those games are going to come out, if they'll be exclusive. However, I just feel like...
For sure.
I just... think that there's going to be corporate greed where if a game doesn't like fit their ideology, they can either just like put a complete like stop to a game that may be like some developers like that's their dream game and they want to tell this story, but they're like shackled to a larger corporation, and I think it can limit the games like that come out.
Yeah, we'll never see a Winnie the Pooh game.
Love that.
You'll never
That'd
see
be
it now.
so funny if Klei Entertainment tried to put out a Winnie the Pooh game. They're like, no,
Tencent would shut that shit down.
But could you imagine like a dark Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah.
I mean, if
Crazy
they actually
100
like
acre
put
words.
power behind Winnie the Pooh, they're just like, we may make fun of him with Winnie the Pooh, but now Xi Jinping is like flipping the script and he's like, now Winnie the Pooh's a badass and he fucks bitches in the 100-acre wood. Like he's all
Yeah, I'm pretty
he's
sure
just
that's what
going
he would
for it.
say.
100%. That's what Winnie the Pooh would say. My grandpa used to call him Winnie the Poop, and I would cry because I loved Winnie the Pooh. Fun fact.
Okay.
Naturally. I cry when I see poop sometimes too.
Oh, me too.
Honestly, like I'm not surprised by this because Klei Entertainment, like they already have shown that they're doing exclusive things with like the Epic Game Store. They did that with Griftlands. Great game, by the way. But that was one of those games where it was like, oh, we're going to put it on Epic Game Store for a year, and then Steam will get it later. So like, it doesn't surprise me that they did something like that. The only thing, like, it wouldn't matter who it is. Like Tencent. Obviously, there's some of that. Those stereotypes of them being this evil company and yada yada, and I don't care either way. Like I don't know the inner workings to Tencent, so I don't want to say yes or no. But like what I do know is, or what I think anyway, not know, but what I think is that no company should have full majority, because that goes against the whole reason of like why there are different stakes in the game, why there are different heads at a board meeting, like is so there can be multiple perspectives and they can kind of like pick and choose based on those different investors, and they can push the company in the best direction. But with this, it's like it doesn't fucking matter. Like today Tencent says Klei Entertainment can have their full autonomy and they can do all these things that they demand, which is a weird way to word that, by the way. Their co-founder said like that we demand this, but
yeah,
like
the freedom that we demand.
yeah, I thought that
kind
was
of a
really
thing.
strange. But like at the same time, yeah, they do that now, but tomorrow Tencent could change their mind.
Right.
They're the majority right now. They don't answer to anyone other than themselves. And like even if it's not just tomorrow, even if it's down the road, someone in Tencent, some head of a department changes, now they want to shift their gears and say like, well, no, we're actually majority in this, so Klei, you're gonna just start working on whatever it is they want.
Right.
Now Klei Entertainment is working on Fortnite shit. Like I don't know why, but like maybe they're just like, we need more developers, so we're taking you. Like who knows, right? The same thing happened.
Yeah.
For what? I'm sorry.
Sorry. Or they shut down the entire studio.
Yeah, 100%. But like the same thing happened with like Valve and the team that worked on Firewatch, right? Like they got
Campo Santo.
Yeah, they got transitioned, and like whether it is that they wanted to do it or not because of the whole Valve statement of like you get to work on whatever project you want, like whether they did or didn't, the project that they were working on got canned because they were just like, well, we're gonna work on Half-Life Alyx, the VR game. And like granted, that's not a negative or positive thing, like I won't say one way or the other, but like it does mean that you can't go into this thinking there's going to be no changes, right?
Yeah.
Like you could say you have full autonomy, but you don't.
Right. Or you can have
Yeah,
I was just thinking like Disney, because we just with the Lucas games making like their reprisal, because when Disney bought out LucasArts, they shut down their studio. They were like in the middle of working on that was like Star Wars 13 or 11.
13.
Yeah. And they completely shut it down. Like it just, and I wasn't expecting that. I don't think a lot of people were expecting that because Disney's huge and Star Wars was huge, and they decided to shut it down. You give another company the ability to just kind of like call the shots that matter.
Right.
Yeah. I hope it's more of. I hope this altogether is more of like a Microsoft scenario where seemingly every developer that has been purchased by Microsoft has said so far that they are like, yeah, we have received our autonomy. We work on what we want to work on. So that's like Double Fine and In Exile. Like they seem to be working fine for the most part, but I truly hope that it's not like a Lab Zero Games scenario where somebody just changes their mind and they're like, you know what, we're not a creator-owned studio. Instead, I'm just gonna take everything and everybody's gonna go out of we're just gonna go out of business. How about that? We just sink the ship. That'll be sweet. Like, there's two sides to this coin, and I very much hope that it's more a Microsoft side, where they're just like, you know what, we will take a back seat because you obviously knew what you were doing before we actually invested in your company, and if we leave you alone, you'll make us money. Like, it's not going to be bad. It'll be easy.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. Because Don't Starve is massively popular.
Yeah,
it's a huge IP.
Klei does good stuff. Like, they have a great list of IPs in their wheelhouse, and like, I don't doubt that they'll continue to succeed. So it's great, but like the idea of you having full autonomy, like you have full autonomy until you fuck up or something goes wrong, right? Like, because the minute something goes on their radar, like, you know, the Chinese ruler saying like, whoa, pump the brakes, they're gonna pump the brakes. Like, there's no stopping it.
Yeah. I can't wait for the tinfoil hats to come out and be like, they're collecting your data. Like, they refuse to play any Don't Starve game again because they're afraid that, like, they're somehow getting, you know, your indentations on your teeth and creating super soldiers based on your DNA, like some weird fucked up scenario, which, like, let's be real. If you're creating a super soldier based on anyone's DNA, it's the big Josh boy. He's got them thick muskies. Like, he's pretty swole. So,
Josh, have you done 23andMe? Because that's who's going to make the super soldiers.
I will not do that.
Okay, good.
I mean, you just saved the planet, okay? Because if they got your DNA, dude, we'd be fucked.
They'd be like, holy
There'd
fuck,
be like,
look at this man's DNA.
Yeah. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say, like, the Canadian government would develop super soldiers based on the Big Josh Boy's DNA, and they would be, like, werewolf-human hybrids. Sure, they would be a little bit short of stature, but they'd be extremely well endowed, and they've had massive muscles, and we'd all be scared. We'd be running for the hills, okay?
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
All right, that sounds like a great way to transition.
Yeah, speaking of weird experiments, our next news story is over on GameSpot.
Boom.
It is written by... Oh, dude, I can never pronounce
I
his
love
name
it.
correctly.
Do the
I'm pretty
sing-songy
sure I
way.
fuck it every time. It's Eddie Mukoosh. I don't know how to say your name. I'm sorry. I know you exist. You're a real person in real life, and I could ask you, but it's just so much better.
That would
be
too hard.
Yeah, that's an extra step that I do not want to go through. So this is new details on the next game from Inside and Limbo developer revealed. Of course, they're talking about Playdead. So didn't get much from this, but I did just want to talk about it because I think we're all excited, especially after that Real Doll crossover where we got basically the fleshlight that just looks like a mound of flesh, literally. Like, who doesn't love that? That's just great. It's the best collector's edition ever sold. But the team behind the acclaimed games Limbo and Inside have shared some new insights on the next game, and it sounds like it will be quite different from their previous work. Playdead's current game is a third-person sci-fi adventure title that takes place in a remote corner of the universe. The game has no title yet. Some of the job ads include art of what might be the current game, though this is never explicitly stated. Check out the new artwork in the gallery. A lot of this artwork is also stuff that we saw when it was initially announced, I believe, in late 2019, early 2020, I believe. The information comes from Playdead's career page on its website. The page also tells would-be applicants that the Copenhagen-based studio has a very flat management structure and is a relatively small team of about 50 people. And they've got like 12 positions opening up. Kaitlyn, did you play Inside or Limbo? Are you excited for a like kind of departure from the standard? Yeah, the fact that you just like recoiled for a second. I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
It's been on my to-play list like since they came out. I own them. I think on both the Switch and the PlayStation. I've bought them twice. And I don't know why I haven't played them because they just seem like everything that I want in a game. And this new game seems like everything that I want in a game. Like open, like third person, sci-fi. Like I don't know. It's right on my alley. The artwork I want actually like printed in on my wall. I'm just the worst human being, and I haven't played Inside or Limbo. I have seen Limbo played through. Like I watched it, but or was it Inside? Which one was the first one that came out? Inside?
Limbo is the first one.
Limbo. So yeah, I watched Limbo.
Yeah. I would recommend Inside. Inside was a good game.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
It's on Game Pass, right? I think Inside is on Game Pass.
That is a good
question. I might be wrong. I swear to God, it has been on Game Pass before.
Probably.
I might be wrong about that.
I don't have an Xbox anymore.
No. Well, you gave up your Xbox? Why would you do that?
I had like the OG Xbox One, and it was rough.
And a jet engine?
Yes, she
it flew away.
I needed to put her down. Like, I made her look away and just was like, I'm so sorry.
You old yeller your Xbox One?
I watched Old Yeller yesterday.
God.
You're like, I've got dog murdering on the brain. I'm sorry, Xbox One.
What's wrong with me? No, I had to put her down. Then I got a PS4 Pro, and it just like, I don't know. I just didn't.
Oh, you made the better decision, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
You moved up in the world. Okay, wow. I get it. No,
wow.
That's such like some shots fired right there. I have an Xbox One, and I haven't turned it on literally since I bought it. I'm not even joking. Like, well, that's not true, actually. That is not literal. I have turned it on. I played, I believe I played the first Gears of War and halfway or the majority of the way through the second because I was like, you know what? I need to play through these games again. And then I got halfway through the second and I was just like, I'm done. I don't want to play anymore.
Damn.
But the thing that sucks the most is if I ever want to play through the Fable series again, I have to turn on that fucking paperweight. I can't play it on my PC, and it fucking pisses me off. Yeah. Especially because the first game was such a big hit. But saying about that, this is about their next game from Playdead. Seriously though, like Josh, you have to know this. Obviously, I'm pretty sure you've already noticed. The similarities between Kaitlyn and I is just weird. I own these games as well on multiple platforms and still have yet to actually play these fucking games. It's just like, it's such a problem.
I'm so glad we're not alone.
Yeah, if you ever, I'm not even joking, if you ever play Limbo and you get to the point where like you get the weird brain worm and you just decide to quit, we're the same person and like same matter can't occupy the same space, so you need to tell me if we're ever going to be in the same areas. I gotta ditch. I gotta peace out.
I don't know if I can like if it's possible for me to have any more brain worms without dying.
Oh, that's a good point. You gotta watch out.
It's just worms for brains.
Just worms for brains.
Josh, are you excited for this this departure? I mean, like it seems like a lot of noteworthy like indie developers are trying to like switch up genres. Similarly, obviously, I'm talking about Image and Form, who've switched up their genre multiple times, but now we're going for the gunk, and it's much different. It's actually basically the same thing, where it's a third-person sci-fi adventure game. So, how do you feel about Playdead wanting to switch this up and making something that seems like completely different in gameplay, but as in visuals, it looks very similar based on this artwork?
Yeah, I think so. The thing that makes like Limbo and Inside really impressive is the atmosphere. Like that is the main part about those games that really you know them very well for. And I think that's going to still translate into this game, whether they do it in a different like manner or not, whether it's that third person, whether it's a more sci-fi adventure. Like I'm just looking at the images. Obviously there's not too much to go off of, right? But like that same feeling of the very like desolate, but still there's something possibly watching you, kind of creepy atmosphere, that vibe you get from these images make it seem like it's still going to be the same kind of story that I want to be there for. Like that's the thing that's good about Playdead is they tell a story in a very quiet way that kind of makes you think. Like I loved, you got to play Inside, you really do, because it's a really good story. But like I'm excited for it anyway, and I love when developers try to do this, especially after they've already had some form of success, because like you could say, yeah, you could keep doing the same thing, but like I think it goes against really the indie structure of just what makes indie games and what makes independent developers themselves is like you're doing it because it's a passion project. You're doing it because it is something that the team really is behind, right? And if this is something that they want to change because they're not passionate about, maybe they're not passionate about doing the same type of format game. They've gotten more money now. They've gotten more people behind them, resources. If they had that vision, like this might have been the game they wanted to make when they first started the studio, but they just couldn't, right? Because they didn't have the means to do it. So like I'm all for it because I've seen that they can make a good game. So like whatever it is, it'll probably be pretty good. But I will say, for those people that have that limited definition of an indie studio as a small team, they're starting to ruin that definition right now because they're at like 50 people going on 60 with this game. So it's like it's getting pretty rough if that's your definition. We've talked about this. I don't think that that's really the definition, more or less. So I think it's still fine to be in this realm. But like getting back to the game, this is one of those, show me the actual game. Like looking at this, I'm like, cool, creepy vibe. I want to get in that world. But until I see more of that, like, I'm like, yeah, it'll probably be good. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. That totally checks out. I forgot to ask, but how are we feeling about Klei Entertainment now? How many people do you think are going to be like not an indie game anymore? Like, because I mean, technically,
that's true.
They're not literally independent anymore. They now have like they're majority owned by Tencent, but if they're still like, if your definition includes the feeling of how a game plays, could they possibly still be indie based on certain people's definitions? If they do really have that autonomy, like, I don't know. It's pretty weird.
Yeah, that's true, because my definition is more on that autonomous part to it. Yeah. So like, yeah, they're tiptoeing that line of like Klei Entertainment really isn't part of the indie crew anymore, because I mean it's the same concept of them being bought out by like a Microsoft, right? Like it's very close there, where their money is very much coming from a source that like, even if because it's the same concept, right? The same thing where for Microsoft they have that same like, go do what you want. Like you could talk about Psychonauts 2, right? That is not an indie studio anymore. For Humble, no, not Humble, no. What is the
second one? Double Fine?
Double Fine, thank you. I don't know why I was thinking Humble Bundle. Yeah, Double Fine, like they're not an indie studio anymore. They used to be, not anymore. You could think of the same for Klei. I guess there's like kind of a difference because it's not like officially under them, but like that's where all the money's coming from.
They don't own the studio themselves. They just own a majority stake. Kaitlyn, I've been meaning to ask you, what is your definition of an indie game? Like, do you have one specifically? Have you ever thought about it?
I have, but I'm kind of aligned with Josh. Just like if they're independent, I guess I would classify Klei as like indie adjacent now.
They're like, next door to indie.
They're the next door neighbor. I don't know. The indies from next door. It's.
Sounds like a good movie.
Yeah, because I think
I think
the autonomous part is a huge part about being an indie game. It's when you remove that, I don't know if you can really classify it as an indie. It might still have the look and feel of an indie game, and I wouldn't like correct someone if they called one of those games like, oh, this is an indie game, because it's just all personal preference. I'm not going to be strict on the definition of an indie game. If you feel like it's an indie game, then it's an indie game. But
yeah, it's kind of an entire thread in this podcast is that you can't really like nail down what an indie game is as a genre, because it's just like, it's ineffable. It's basically just a feeling at this point. And like what you feel is indie.
When you play an indie game, you're like, this is an indie game. It's just something you know. It's in your jellies.
Yeah. And then you play Senua's Sacrifice and you're just like, what? You're just like so surprised about it. Yeah, you gotta love that. It really like, it helps out each other. But let's hop to our last news story for today. This one's over on Twinfinite. It is written by Alex Gibson, and this one's kind of an interesting one. I'm not actually going to read much of the article itself. I just want to talk about it because I think this shit is super weird and super dope. So this is this Bloodborne PS1 demake looks absolutely brilliant. So if you didn't know, there is a developer. I believe their name is Lilith Walther. She is an Unreal Engine 4 tech artist / engineer currently working on the indie title Witch. It's an indie JRPG from Heartstrings Studios. Yeah, Heartstring Studios, because I just can't read like a normal person. And on their off time, this person is actually recreating Bloodborne as if it were a PS1 game. So just imagine the triangle boobs from Tomb Raider,
Hell
but
yeah.
just if it
Good
was so
times.
much worse. So, Kaitlyn, how do you feel about this? Were you a Bloodborne fan before, and does this just make you want to play Bloodborne so much more? You're like, if only it looked like random garbage, I would love it.
I swear this episode is going to be like all the games that Kaitlyn hasn't played.
That's
You're
okay.
fine. You're
I
good.
don't play Bloodborne.
But I'm not opposed to playing Bloodborne now because of Hades. I loved Hades so much, and I was never into like, I don't know, the roguelikes. I don't know. Just those kinds of games, or roguelike or roguelite. Never was into those games because Bloodborne's a roguelike, right? Or am I?
It's technically a Souls-like, but I believe that the Souls genre kind of takes a little bit from roguelikes, where it is like,
In a way.
there is the possible loss of progress if you die,
Yeah.
but they do give that small bit of like, technically you continue to progress and you continue to like gain actual like intangible game or in-game tangible objects and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I guess you could call it a roguelike.
I think
Or
I think
roguelite,
it's the
I'm
light.
sorry.
Yeah, the light.
Yeah, roguelite.
I don't know. It just
I
never.
think it's roguelike adjacent, if anything,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Roguelike
It's just there.
I don't know. They just never appealed to me. And then I don't know. I really liked Hades, and I was like, okay. I was like, I can deal with like dying multiple times, because like when I play games, I hate dying. Like I hate it so much. I'm playing Hitman 3, and anytime I die, I like go and back to I load before I die, so that I don't.
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
show that I've died, because I'm.
Dude, I've save scum like a motherfucker.
Yeah, same.
I'm so bad at
I'm
it.
like, before I do this one thing, let me save, because this is probably going to go horribly wrong.
Every time you make a big decision in Fallout, you're just like, hold up. You just save real quick.
1
and
second,
then you're like,
though.
okay, let's do
Yeah,
this.
now I'm ready. I don't even know what we're talking about. Oh yeah,
The Bloodborne demake, yeah.
oh man.
This is going
It's
great.
not something I would
I
play.
love it.
I read through her thread though, and I didn't even realize that demakes were a thing, and I was so impressed with like how she did this and how it looked, and like it just how it plays. I think it's a little bit. It's like 24 frames per second or something. Like it's true to what a game like that would have looked like if it came out.
Which is so weird.
Like, it's so
Like, yeah.
It's a
That
strange...
somebody looks like at a polished game that came out in the late 2010s, and they're just like, you know what if I fuck this up?
Yeah, like who's the person that was like one day, like, I mean, obviously them, but like, what does that look like? Why just like, you know what I can do today? Let's just fucking make this game look real ugly. That's what I want.
Well, I think it might have been linked to that article, or I was in the thread, where they made a top-down, it looks like Zelda, but it was Bloodborne. That one was really cool. And I was like, I can see people really
I
wanting
think
to
you're
play
talking
that.
about Blight Town.
Yes.
I think is what it's called.
Yes.
Yeah, I played it. It's really, really cool. There's like a huge community around like remaking Bloodborne into different like older genres. It's very weird.
It's so weird.
It's an odd hobby to have, but honestly, I appreciate it.
Yep.
I think it's fucking sweet.
Yeah.
Hit me up when
Josh-
they make it a card game.
Oh, seriously, you'll be so into it, dude. You're gonna love it. Oh my gosh, are you interested in this? Do you think? Okay, serious question. Is there a demake that could exist of Bloodborne to get you to make it? Like, if they put cards in it, would you play it?
For Bloodborne? If they made it a card, I mean, probably.
Yeah, if they made it a card game.
Yeah, I try it out. You know, I'm like, all right, let's see what this is all about. Like, the thing with Bloodborne is like it's the weird part is like, I love challenging games, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I play a bunch of hard games and I enjoy that, but I just never got into the mechanics and the stamina dodge rolling aspect that's very predominant in those type of games. So just like playing those, I'm always like, it's just not my style. Like, I've played a couple like Souls-like-ish games, and I'm always like, this is okay, but it's just not for me. I don't know.
Okay.
It's fair.
I don't
Good
think.
jelly, not your jam.
Good
Just to go
jelly,
back to
not my
fucking
jam.
The amazing Josh Nichols there. Good jelly, not my jam. Just what a beautiful boy. Got that Lego hair to boot. Gosh, I love that kid. Yeah, I'll never play this. Like, I'm a Souls-like fan, and I'll never play this just because I find the art style disgusting. Like, I don't like PS1 games. I'm sorry. Like, unless they're 8-bit, like, that's my jam. I love me some pixel art. But when you start to get weird, like, literally right as this started going, I was like, Bloodborne is a creepy game, and I am a naturally phobic person, but the added layer of this really gross art style is so much worse. I was like, you're freaking me out just looking at this.
Could you imagine if it's that art style but in VR? Like, you would vomit.
Oh,
yeah.
This would be
Literally,
so bad for me.
just looking at the trailer, I was gonna vomit just because of like the pixel stuttering as it went up to like the moon of the opening sequence of the Hunter's Dream. I was like, ugh. It's just, I couldn't handle it. It was, it's so cool though. I think the demakes are awesome. I really liked Blighttown. I thought it was really interesting. And fighting the cleric beast, however easy it was, and like not an actual like decent representation of that fight, I thought that it was really cool. I think this is really interesting. Me being on my Souls-like kick right now with streaming Dark Souls 2 and playing Ashen and actually wanting to move toward Bloodborne, I think I'm actually going to beat it this year. I've loved Bloodborne since it came out. I've loved the art style, but it's always kicked my dick in. So I'm excited to go back to it. I love the really like dark and gothic nature to this game, especially now that Black Clover. I don't know if anybody's a Black Clover fan. Kaitlyn, I don't know you. Maybe you an anime girl. But in Black Clover, they introduced a character that is basically like him using one of his devil uniforms basically just looks like the hunter from Bloodborne, and I think it's fucking sweet, and it's making me want to play Bloodborne again. So that is it for this news story. It is time for us to hop into some news, Cram. But
What?
we naturally, I love that she did the drums there, even though they don't exist in the video version.
She's
because I
like,
still
fuck
don't
it,
know what
news
to do with
cram.
it.
I just felt like there needed to be drums.
I mean, there's an interesting thing that Josh made that's just like, like
It's like a little jingle.
I mean, it's not drums, but it is. I mean,
Just like a little,
exactly.
like a little triangle. What is that?
A symbol?
No.
Or I guess, it is.
Pretty sure it
literally
is
just a
called the
Is
triangle.
it called a
It
triangle?
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Both the laziest instrument in creation and the laziest namesake. They're like, it's a triangle, let's name it the triangle. Fuck me. Like, let's just do it. So, News Cram is our weekly wrap-up segment where we're the hosts of IndiePod and Indie Games Podcast, cramming full of all sorts of indie games news. This week in News Cram, we actually have 2 quick news stories for you.
Hot damn.
Some new deals and quick steals, and a whole bunch of new stuff. Our first news story for today comes by way of Twinfinite, where it's reported that Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game Complete Edition, has officially became Limited Run's game's best-selling, it's their best-selling game, clearing 25,000 copies of the game on Nintendo Switch within 3 hours of going live. And this is just on one platform. Then I believe the reason they only offered Nintendo Switch is because PlayStation and Xbox still don't actually offer this kind of data, other than in NPD, which PlayStation does. So, or which PlayStation is heavily featured in. Not that they do it, because that's by the NPD group. But I think it's really interesting. That's a shitload of copies to sell within 3 hours.
People were fucking heckling them for years about making this, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if it didn't sell like this, I'm pretty sure somebody would have been pissed.
Yeah,
they would have
dude.
been like, are you fucking serious right now? Or, you've been on my dick about this for years, and now you're just going to be like, I don't have any money.
We don't need it.
Yeah, I would be so pissed. And lastly, over on Polygon, it's reported that indie developer / publisher Team 17 has just purchased all the rights and assets associated with Golf with Your Friends, or for Golf with Your Friends, for £12 million.
Whew,
I don't know how
that's
much,
heavy.
I don't know.
A lot of moolah.
I mean, what weighs more, a pound of kilogram of steel or a kilogram of feathers? Nobody fucking knows. You know what I mean? So let's just move on to some new deals and quick steals. Our first and only deal for this week comes by way of Nintendo Life, where it supported that Atui, I don't know how to say it, publisher of indie games like, what'd you say?
I said good enough. No, I don't know what it is. Atui? Looks like it. Why not?
I mean, yeah. It's close enough, whatever. Publisher of indie games like the Mutant Mudds Collection and Soccer Slammers has just announced a massive sale on the Nintendo Switch, discounting games up to 80%, leaving the Mutant Mudds Collection costing a mere $2.99. But that's not all. Xenodrifter and Soccer Slammers are both discounted to $1.99. Not that you can get them together for $1.99, they're each $1.99. So, if you're into these games, check them out over on the Nintendo Switch. I believe this deal runs until like 2 days after this episode goes live. This one should go live for the plebes on the 29th. I believe it goes until either the 31st or the 1st. So, there you go. Now,
are either of you Star Wars fans?
Yeah, I am.
Atui sounds like what the jaw was like say when they go.
Yeah. It's exactly what it sounds like. Yeah,
Atui.
They're like,
it's Utini, that's what it is. But you said Atui, and I was like, that's what the jaw was saying.
You're like, how is this not copyright infringement?
I'm so confused. All right.
Yeah, no, I definitely get it. Especially with like the Mandalorian, that like I think it's the 3rd episode where they just trash his fucking ship.
God, I love it.
Yeah, and they're all about it. They're just like, Houdini. Yep. So on to some news, Cram, or some news stuff. We're already in news. I mean, at least it's not news cream, right? I heard that story. That was pretty interesting. So our first 4 items in news stuff come by way of Nintendo Life, where it's reported that roguelike beat 'em up, Going Under by Aggro Crab, just an interesting name for a studio, is getting a free update titled Working From Home. This update will include new outfits, new modes, and much more, but sadly, you'll have to wait until February 25th for its release. That action-adventure game, Anodyne 2, Return to Dust by Milos Hantani and Marina Katatake. I don't know how to say that name. I think I made it sound a little bit weirder than it actually needed to be. Is headed to the Nintendo Switch on February 18th. That Autorunner's Super Meat Boy Forever by Team Meat just received a new update meant to fix several bugs that plague the game. Most notably, it's added a new chunk restart and level restart option to the game. So
that was one of my complaints. Very nice.
You're returning to the Epic Game Store to play some more Super Meat Boy Forever?
No, but I'm glad they did it.
And lastly, I just said that this is what kind of game this is because I don't know what it actually is. And lastly, that Balance racing game, Balance a Lot, by Anvilbird Interactive is now available on the Nintendo Switch. Did you ever play Happy Wheels? Did either of you guys ever play that game?
Happy Wheels.
Nope.
Yeah, it was like this really popular browser game where you basically just tried to get through these weird obstacle courses. It's very similar to like, what is it? Like Trials and Trials Rising?
Yeah.
Like those games where you just try not to kill yourself while going through obstacle courses?
I've definitely played a couple Flash games that look very similar to what this is.
There's another one
that's
where
basically
you...
what...
Oh, no, okay, yep, I have played this. It was like you're riding a bike and you just get like sawed in half.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. I mean, it's literally like Happy Wheels is like, I swear to God, every kid played it on the like the computers at school, and you just decimated yourself. Like, it totally checks out. But that is what Balance a Lot is. It looks a lot like it. It's very interesting. But there's also like a jousting thing to it because it's interesting.
The art is so, I don't know, it's cute.
Yeah, I mean it's really interesting. It's very reminiscent of like the I guess early era paintings of that time, where it's like really odd. I remember there was Big Josh Boy was excited about a card game that had very interesting art style.
Yeah, there was a Kickstarter game. I don't remember the name of it, but yes.
Yeah, me neither.
It's basically we said
just
nothing.
Look at too many.
Just like, you remember that one time we talked about something? Yeah, me too.
Exactly. We typically do that a lot. Now, over on Twinfinite, where it's reported that dating /puzzle game Honey Pop 2 Double Date is headed to the PC via Steam on February 8th. Yeah.
You're into the dating
Super excited for those bats, dude.
No, not at all.
No, we're just excited about big anime titties. That's what it's all about. That's what the world revolves around.
I mean, that's how we started.
Oh yeah.
Big anime
definitely.
Talking about big anime titties.
Yeah.
Literally, not even a joke. We talked about a game on the podcast once during God Bless the Crowd called Subverse that is literally a sex game with big anime titties. Like, that's it. And it was, like, very, very interesting. Still has yet to come out. I'm not even joking. Wishlisted it. Haven't got any updates. What the fuck?
It made millions.
It
Its
did,
Kickstarter
yeah.
was so successful.
It checks out. It checks out. And that indie RPG Chris Tales by Dreams Unincorporated and Sync, I believe is how you say the studio's name, but I don't know, is getting a physical collector's edition through Maximum Games that includes a Matthias plush, or Matthias, I don't know how to say, it's the frog, 4 enamel pins, an art book, and much more for a mere price of $99.99. Who doesn't love spending $100 on physical game release? Hell yeah. That's
Chris
my
Tales
kinda
does
jam.
look good though, but
It
I ain't
does.
It does.
spending that much on it.
It has
You don't
like
want the frog plush?
I would buy it for the plushies and those little pins, the
Oh
enamel
no,
pins.
you are Vaughn.
I fucking told you, dude. I told you.
I don't care what the game is, though the artwork reminds me of Gris, and I loved that game, so I want to play this just because of the art style.
It's a pretty dope RPG. It's a turn-based combat game that goes into time as a mechanic, where you basically will have the ability to speed and slow down time, where you'll throw water on someone and then speed up time, and it will turn to rust for a robot to weaken them. It's very interesting.
Interesting.
It sounds really cool.
Yeah.
I'm super into it. I'm very, very excited for its release this year. And to round out the group over on GameSpot, it is reported that 2D action adventure game. Why do they do this shit to me? Because I don't know how to fucking say this name. Pheanotopia Awakening by Cape Cosmic is now available on PC via Steam. This game actually looks dope as fuck. I'm definitely gonna pick it up. I'm gonna reach out for a code. I'm gonna be honest, because I'm a student, but also, and I'm trying to buy a house, but still, dude, this game looks fucking sweet, so I want to pick it up. But we have been blessed with so many amazing indie game news stories that it is time for us to get back to the creators in our next segment, God Bless the Crowd. This is where the biggest of average Josh boys hops over to all sorts of crowdfunding sites, finds something awesome for us to talk about, and we do just so. This week, we are headed once again over to Kickstarter to talk about a game called Mythic Prelude. It's a fast-paced 16-bit inspired adventure with a fantasy story, intense bosses, and a beautiful soundtrack. The developers, I feel like they actually have a studio name, but it's just Dimitri Lowell, I believe is what it says on Kickstarter right now.
Yeah.
They are looking for...
They're the main developer, and then there's a few other people that have helped out with assets and things, but it's pretty much just Dimitri.
Okay, cool. They are currently looking for $13,350 as their goal. They have 40 backers and 19 days left to go. Kaitlyn, I forgot to ask you before we even started to record. Did you get a chance to actually look at this before we started to record?
I did.
Oh, okay, awesome. I'm glad. So what do you think about Mythic Prelude?
I want to play it. I'm probably going to go and back it when we're done here.
Wow, look at that.
I mean, it's only like $12.
Yeah, it wasn't, and I like funding Kickstarters. I've got a spare couple of dollars lying around.
Dude, we're the podcast for you. Seriously? We talk about this shit every week.
No, we're going to make you spend too much money.
Oh, yes. I love
just-
spending
yeah.
money.
You ended up just getting Donut County and now
Obviously,
this.
I love spending money.
I guess that's true.
No, I played the trailer clip for it, and even just the music sold me, which may seem ridiculous, but the music was so good that I was like, I want to play it just for that. And I don't know, it looked cool. I don't really have much else to say.
I mean,
Nice.
you don't have to have more than
Yeah,
that.
I was-
It looks cool. You're interested in backing it.
That's literally
That's it.
all you need for a Kickstarter. They did their
Exactly.
job. That's
My
as
first-
long as you're into the vision.
My first thought was, I want this soundtrack on vinyl. I've only heard a minute of the music, and I'm for it.
Damn. Look at that. Look at that.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't actually a tier. Because that is something that often happens where they do... typically they don't do on vinyl, but they do often have soundtracks included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Yeah, the game looks really, really cool. Once again, I'm just going to say, dude, I hate to bring up Black Clover twice, but this actually reminded me of Noct as well. That's the character's name. Super dope. The only thing I think is super weird is this, like, really heavy reliance on being able to befriend 4 animals.
Yeah.
And they very specifically are, like, obsessed with this 4 animals thing. I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm into it. Josh, I want to ask you, what do you think about this Kickstarter before I say anything negative about
Before you start shitting on it.
Yes, exactly.
So I think that I wish I would have played the demo because I feel like the Kickstarter doesn't do it a lot of good representation on like what the game really is. Like it shows quick clips, but there's not as much in the actual Kickstarter itself. But there is like the full demo, which showcases everything. I don't know much about the story based on this. It seems very convoluted as far as like what they give you. It's kind of like shrouded in mystery or whatever, but that's probably on purpose because they don't want to give anything away. But it does look like a game, obviously from, I believe they said they were going for that, the SNES era type game. I like the platforming aspect of it. I think it looks like a faster paced kind of Zelda game, which I think is good because that's always been my thing with the more 2D Zelda games, is I feel like they're usually a little slow. I do like the fact that they have this interesting like bullet hell approach with some of the bosses. You can see it in some of the gifs where they're just like jumping around and getting just bombarded by these electric balls. I don't know what you would call them, just these orbs of damage. But I don't know. Like I think personally, some of the things that are cool for me is that they have apparently that multiple endings thing. They'll have mini games. I don't know what that means. Ability modifiers, and like they do have that animal part like you mentioned, which is very weird because they were just like 4 animal friends and you're like, okay, cool. But I don't know, I think like looking at this, it's only I believe $15 to actually get the digital. Oh no, that's 15
it's
Canadian,
12.
so it's US 12,
Yeah.
which is even better for me anyway. But
Yeah, sorry, Chris.
yeah, sorry, Chris. Get wrecked. But no, I think it looks pretty good. If you're into this style or this genre of games, I think it's something to definitely check out. All right, now you can shit all over it.
Okay, thank you. No, I'm not even gonna shit on the game itself. I mean, obviously, like me being as nitpicky as I am as a human, I don't like the animation for the sword swing. I think it looks dumb, but whatever. Naturally, that has to be something I point out. But 2, I just don't think that the Kickstarter itself does the game justice, just like you said, how I wish I would have played the demo, because it's lacking so many things that I would want to know. Like, what exactly does it mean to have these 4 animal companions? How exactly does, like, the idea of the save system actually being integrated to the plot, similar to Undertale? I think that's very, very cool, but I just want to know exactly what they mean by that. Like, in what way is it part of the plot? Is it like Undertale where that's actually like a special ability that somebody has and them constantly resetting is like a major plot point?
Right.
Or is this just like somebody recognizes like that you in a sense are time traveling kind of a deal? Like I want to know more about this. I want to know about like, it seems very like supernatural, and I want to know what your character is doing. Like, are they some sort of exorcist? Like, it seems like they have some sort of demonic power because they have this weird, like, everything that they do has this animation that's like a shadowy animation.
Right, the dash.
Yeah, that seems to have something to do with this crow. There's so much I want to know about it, but honestly, the little they've showed, if befriending these 4 animal companions in some way, like, gives you different types of abilities and stuff like that, because they've spoken about different abilities.
Yeah.
I think that that's so cool, and once again reminds me of Noct so much that I will back this game, especially only for $12. That's like a steal. This is super cheap, but I will say I am going to play the demo before I decide. Right. That's the one thing. It's like, I'm going to play the demo, see if I like it, and then I will more than likely back it. The estimated delivery is March of 2023, but I mean, It could come earlier. It could come later. Nobody even knows. I backed a Kickstarter like literally when we like started this podcast that I have yet to see anything about, and it said it was coming in 2020. So shit happens. It's whatever. Any final thoughts that you guys want to get off your chest about Mythic Prelude before we move on to our listener questions?
You should bombard their FAQ section because they have no FAQs. And I did look at that and I was like, you couldn't even like have asked a friend to like give you FAQ questions before this, but
yeah,
everything
like
you
actually
asked,
kind
you
of
should
like
just...
sourced it a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely, that's what I need to do. Be like, what's up with the animal friends? Why does this guy look like, why does he have this spooky dash? What exactly is the story about? They're like frequently asked questions, everything about our fucking game.
Yeah.
That's the Big Josh Boy, do you have any last tidbits?
No, I'm good. I think we covered it pretty much. I definitely say, check it out. It's a pretty low price point, and at least just check out the demo, because I'll probably end up picking that up as well and just seeing how it plays.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, they are looking for $13,350 as of the time of this recording. They have 2,351 with 40 backers and 19 days left to go. So hopefully a couple people listen to this. They're into it, other than us, obviously, and want to pick up the game. But now it is time for us to move on to our listener questions. Andrew McMahon, I believe is how you say that, or McMahon?
I've been saying it wrong.
I mean, I don't know. See, here's the thing. I've interacted with him on Twitter so many times, but I don't know how to say his name.
Is it Mick Mahone?
That's what I thought.
Maybe it is.
But no, I think
I
you're
don't know.
right. I think it's McMahon. I think that's how that is pronounced, and I forgot.
I think we all just fucked up. They write in and says, they say, what do you think a Christopher Nolan video game would look like? Kaitlyn, in your like mind's eye, what do you think a Christopher Nolan game would look like?
I am a Christopher Nolan fanboy, but
Ah.
I don't like this question because I think if he made a game, I don't know. I feel like he's always talked about like recreating one of his movies, and I don't want that. I feel like movie to video game adaptations are just, for the most part, done horribly, except for Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
So good.
But I don't know. I don't know what it would look like. I kind of have a feeling it would maybe be like a Hideo Kojima game where it just like doesn't make any sense but looks crazy and it's just like insane and you mess with time. He's also obsessed with like spies. It probably would be a mix of like Hitman, but you're like time travelers, and it would deal with time, obviously, because he's obsessed with time.
It's kind of his obsession
That's his
currently.
jam.
Yeah, it's been his obsession for like 30 years, so I don't think he's going to deviate from time.
Well, I guess an additional question, if like, okay, gun to your head, which I love that everyone says this because it's never you can't kill yourself, but, or it's always you can't kill yourself, but if you had to choose one of like Christopher Nolan's IPs, I would say other than Batman, because that's obviously like fucking Batman, there's a shitload of games already. But if you had to choose, so we're talking about like, I believe, I don't know what his first work is called, to be honest, I've never seen it, but then we've got like Memento, Interstellar, Tenet, and Inception. Like, which of his IPs would you want to be like recreated or I guess immortalized in video game fashion?
Inception would probably be the coolest. Because you can do anything in dreams, so it's just
You get into that weird Kingdom Hearts shit.
Oh yeah, dude.
I don't know if I would like that.
Let him just redo Dream Drop Distance or whatever it's called. Fuck it.
Yeah, whatever. Honestly, wouldn't that? Oh, dude, maybe he already did. Maybe he worked with the Little Big Planet creators and was actually involved in Dreams. And it turns out Dreams is a whole like throwback to being the architect in Inception. Nobody knows. It all could be a big mindfuck. It could just be like Hideo Kojima being like, "You're already playing Death Stranding," and all of us are like, "It's coming out in 2 years. What the fuck do you mean by that?"
Yeah,
Nobody knows.
Who knows?
So, that's pretty interesting. Josh, do you have any? Are you a Christopher Nolan fan? And do you? What do you think a video game from Christopher Nolan would look like?
Not crazily. Like the only movie I've really seen from him is Inception, which I did very much enjoy, and I do understand the idea behind his fascination with time. which I think would be really cool if he was like a consultant on a project, right? Like writing for the story, but had a lot less to do with the actual gameplay per se.
Yeah, like a George R. Martin involvement in Elden Ring
or
thing.
Guillermo
Like he
del
developed the
Toro.
lore, but
Right.
he's not.
Like I'd love
really
for him to
involved.
create that story around it, but then someone to put a fun mechanic. Like I'm thinking of like Josh Nichols always complains about how BioShock the Infinite is always ruined because of their time travel like issues, and
Yeah.
I'm like, just let Christopher Nolan redo it. You know, he could figure out how to make the time stuff work.
But Christopher Nolan wants to be in control of every single part of the process. Like how he is as a director is like it's not a bad thing. He like knows what he's doing when he's making a movie. I do not see him as being one to just be like, I'm only gonna be a consultant on something. If his name's gonna be on something, he's gonna have like full control and want to. I don't know. I want him to just stick with movies.
He's gonna be in like every aspect of it. Wouldn't it be
Yeah.
hilarious if he finally got what he wanted, which was to create something without a fucking script, and he made a video game, and you're just like, this makes no sense. What are you doing?
Which I think is why I don't want him to make a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Might be a
I
mess.
get it. Yeah, there are certain people that you're just like, man,
Yeah.
like
Because
maybe you shouldn't.
Because I couldn't get through Death Stranding. It's too much of like it's too long of a game for never understanding anything that's happening. And like I think I love Christopher Nolan movies. Like I love Tenet because it's only a couple hours of me not knowing what's going on, so I can sit and enjoy it because I know it's only a couple hours.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty nonsensical. I'm actually really looking forward to watching it because I believe it's on HBO Max, but literally, like, it's not like Inception where
HBO
some
Max.
people claim to understand what the fuck it is. Like, it's not like that where people are like, oh, I get it. Instead, Tenet, like, literally every person I've talked to is like, what?
I like personally really liked it, but I don't recommend it to people because I feel like most people are like going to hate it with a passion.
Fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your favorite Christopher Nolan movie?
Probably.
Oh, shit. I didn't know I just,
Inception.
like, sunk you into a hole.
Yeah, I'm like,
I mean, if you can include the Batman movies, what is your favorite Christopher
okay,
Nolan?
no, including the Batman movies, it's The Dark Knight.
Okay.
But
All
I
right.
normally like don't include those. For me they're separate. I think I like Inception the most. But here I am, like in my head, I'm like, but this movie does this better, and this movie does this better. You can't ask me those questions. I never have a favorite of anything because I can't make up my mind, and I have too many favorites.
Okay, I'm a big Interstellar fan. I love Interstellar. It's definitely my favorite of his works. Having not seen Memento or the first movie he put out. Oh, I also haven't seen Dunkirk. Now that I think about it, so
Dunkirk's my favorite like war movie because it's like not a war movie.
yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
Josh, do you have a favorite Christopher Nolan movie? Or are you still just like, nah?
I mean, I like Inception. I like the Batman movies. That's pretty much all I've seen from him. But I like him, so good job, buddy.
All right. Sounds good.
Good job.
Moving on to Chris Penwell's question. Always drinking tea, dude. This kid. He's always guzzling it down. You know what I mean? Chris Penwell says, inspired by... I'm going to let you say the name because I still don't know how to say
Big
it.
Sweert.
What big object or objects would you want in your life? Kaitlyn, what big objects would you want in your
This
life?
was-
Other than a cookie, I mean.
I know.
Because that's already taken. Seemingly.
Definitely the first thing that popped into my mind was a cookie. Obviously, this wasn't a bait question at all. I'm gonna be super nerdy and just say, I don't even know if this counts. You know what, it counts because we can do whatever we want. I
That's
just
right.
want a big library and movie theater in my home, and then I'll never leave my house ever.
There you go.
That checks out.
Yeah.
The only two,
Okay.
besides a big cookie, a nice.
Besides a big cookie. Those two things are so different. Like one is so much more affordable. It's like
Literally
I'll take a
just like-
big cookie or a giant library in my house. You know, whichever comes first.
I mean, are you thinking like when you say big cookie, are you thinking like Bruce Almighty size cookie? You know what I mean? Like that's the way the cookie crumbles? Or are you talking about like, I don't know, just a cookie the size of your head?
Just the size of my head. A reasonably sized, but big cookie.
I don't want a cookie that's the size of a state.
Yeah,
No, thank
no,
you.
thank
I
you.
would like just a large cookie. Like something that I could eat, possibly.
Yep.
That'd be good.
Okay, all right. Josh, what is a big object or objects that you would like in your life?
Honestly, and my wife would hate me and she would never allow it, but I'd love to have an ITG cabinet in my garage that I could just play ITG all day.
Every time she goes into your garage, she has like World War II flashbacks of like busting
That-
herself.
That PTSD though. Yeah, no way, but I would love to. I want to get back into it. Oh, I love ITG and dance games. They're so fun.
I mean, if it wasn't obviously a lie, you could tell her you needed to get in shape. You know what you need to do? You
Get
need
real
to just
fat.
let yourself go.
Get
yeah,
real
you
fat.
need to. And you're like, the only way I can possibly think about getting in shape again is to play ITG.
I can
and then
only
she'll let
dance.
you do it, dude. Yeah.
Love it.
It's such a foolproof plan, dude.
They need
I
to
don't understand why
like
you haven't done it yet.
adapt and I'm drawing a blank, and I got it for Christmas. The Nintendo Switch, the like, what is it called?
The Ring Fit. Yeah,
Fit.
that's
Yeah,
Ring
literally
Fit Adventure.
They
that's
need to,
literally
like-
how I work out.
Yeah, they need to adapt that to like do the dance things. If you just strap the controllers onto your legs, I don't know.
They do have a rhythm mode.
Oh.
It's
I don't
like,
know
yeah,
how
so it's
anything works.
instead of there's two different versions, but the one that I do is where you're basically like squeezing in out and it's like you have to move it and like go to the beat of different
Oh.
songs from the game. It's actually pretty good.
That'll probably be my favorite.
I would just love to witness you doing that, and you're just like, ah!
Dude, it's weird because there's parts where you're just like it's like I thought about it because I was like one day I was like, oh, maybe I'll record myself and like show what it looks like, and then I was like, I'm gonna look real fucking weird.
Do it anyways.
Okay.
We all Maybe
I mean, since we're being weird about this, and Kaitlyn has set a precedent, definitely not us setting a precedent of, not actually answering the question that is asked of us. Nope, that's not it at all. Me, big objects or objects that I would want in my life. Obviously, this is fantasy, but if I could get a gigantic slime from Moonlighter, easy, done. I would do it. It would be so fucking sweet. Okay? Like,
Slime boy.
and by the way, if Kaitlyn fucking says anything about slimes right now, I'm just gonna die. Like, I'll just kill myself. Because it's just too similar. It's just too far. So, I would choose a gigantic slime for Moonlighter, and here's the thing, okay? It doesn't have to be real. I will give you that, okay? To answer your question, if I could get... Moonlighter had this really cool collector's edition that I did not get, but I really want it. It had a stress ball of one of the slimes that looked really dope. If I could just get like a beanbag size, like a big chungus size
Chungus.
stress ball. Yeah, like a beanbag chair, but it's one of the slimes, but it always keeps its shape. Like, not like I sit in it and my gigantic fat ass like caves it in for the rest of eternity, but it kept its shape. I would want that. That would be sweet.
So not a sentient, life-size slime.
I mean, if I could, I would choose that. Easy. But
All
I
right.
feel like I have to answer earnestly, which is like a beanbag chair size slime that wouldn't accidentally murder my cats or anything. Yeah. Easy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So Will C writes in and says, "Hey Vaughn, Josh, and Kaitlyn. Actually, I'm sorry. This is not what he said. He said, "Hey Vaughn, Josh, and Kaitlyn." Thank you for the exclamation point there, Will C. I'm glad you did that.
It's very exciting.
When you're playing a game that's not voice acted, do you change the accent in your head when you're reading the text based on the setting of the game? Kaitlyn, do you do this?
I love this question. Because I do. Because I'm insane, and then I love accents, and anytime I'm like reading something or like I don't know watch anything on silent, but I was about to say when I'm like reading closed captioning, I make up voices in my head. That's not true. I don't have many voices in my head, but I don't know.
Not many.
But there's always
Just
a
a
few
few.
that stick with you.
Yeah, there's only a few.
There's only the one that tells me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just floating around and they're speaking to me, telling me what to do. But
I get it.
I have this problem where if I'm like watching a streamer and say they're like British or Australian or Spanish, I don't know, I like start picking up how they speak and their like accents. So I have a problem of like speaking in accents that don't make any sense. because I'm American from the Midwest. And
They're contagious.
they're so contagious. So I
Yeah.
love them. So I absolutely.
Do you ever wish that it was like a reality that you could move somewhere and pick up an accent? Because it's really not. Everyone says that, like, I believe you can lose an accent. That typically happens with, like, Timur Hussein and Lucy James talk about how they're losing their accents.
I love it.
But,
It's so funny.
like, if I could move somewhere and gain an accent, that would be sweet. That would be so cool.
I think it's possible. I mean, I think you would still have. I think it might be obvious that, like, it's a mix of an accent.
Yeah.
But
I can see that. Okay.
if I can go visit my southern grandma in Warsaw, Missouri, and come back and I speak like I've lived in the South my whole life, then you can go live anywhere else and pick up those accents.
Maybe.
Okay. Josh, do you do this? We already talked about it before the podcast, but do you do this?
I do not, but I think it's hilarious and I kind of want to start doing it. I've never done it before, but it sounds pretty good.
It's a thing that I never thought about, and I'm so glad. Like, I feel like Wilsey knew that Kaitlyn did this for somehow and, like, had to write in this question because it's just such an interesting thing to do, and I feel like it might actually, like, really impact my enjoyment of a game that doesn't actually have audio. Like, I would love that so much to just start, like, in my head having a head canon of people's voices.
Yeah, who they sound like.
Be very, very interesting. And Wilsey also asks another question. This is just a good one right here. This is a sweet one. Also, in your opinion, what is the sexiest accent out there? So, Kaitlyn, what is the sexiest accent out there?
Okay, robot's like not an accent. But that was my first thought. I don't know.
So, be honest. Like, you go on a date. You're, like, on a blind date. Bro pulls out one of those things that's, like, it looks like a megaphone, but it actually just changes your voice into, like, a robot voice.
A synthesizer.
You just immediately, you're just like, let's get married. Like,
Yes.
as long as you keep that strapped to your face for the rest of eternity, let's do
If
it.
someone did that, I would be like, you're my soulmate. Like, they knew.
Well, I guess... Actually, is your soulmate one of those people that, like, have throat cancer, so they have to, like...
I was
It
thinking,
does.
like,
Would
Bane.
you be into that?
That's a close second there, I guess.
Close second.
Okay.
Oh my
All right.
gosh.
I mean,
Yeah.
if anybody's listening and they are just infatuated with Kaitlyn, all you have to do is, like, develop a Bane accent and you're in, apparently.
What have I done? My DMs are open. What have I done?
I love that you're just like, please don't do that. Do that.
Please
don't do
don't
that.
But, like, if you
don't
do
it. Don't do it.
Please don't send me your best robot voice.
Yeah.
That would be totally just amazing. Please don't
And
do
then
that.
I want to say my second one because these were the first
Okay.
things that popped in my head. I thought of Taika Waititi, his New Zealand accent, and I don't know what it is about that man. He's just like
He's just a sexy dude.
he's just such a sexy
Like, I get
dude.
it.
But like
Yeah,
platonically
I mean-
at the same time, like I just love him.
Platonically, at the same time, you're like, it's not all sexual, but it's like a
But
little
there's
bit.
like,
little
it's
bit.
like there. But like, it could not be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we could be friends and I'd accept it. Like, I could be put in the friend zone and I'd be cool with it, but, like, if it happened, like, it.
And I guess I don't know who his wife is. I'm pretty sure he's married and has a wife. But like if she's into it, you know what? Maybe we'll see how it goes.
Dude, someone that beautiful gotta have a wife.
I know.
Josh, what would you say, on your opinion, what is the sexiest accent out there?
British, hands down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Easy.
Just gotta go with
Easy.
British. I love it.
I mean, you know what I would say may actually top that for me? And Kaitlyn, you're not going to understand this, but if you listen to our book club episode, you're going to understand it because Mr. Philip Renshaw, the Wombat Emperor of Canada, has just the silkiest smooth accent I've ever heard.
yeah, it's pretty good.
Like, ooh, it just sounds so good. I love it so much. I haven't edited the episode yet, but trust me, people like, and I hate to use this term, but for lack of a better term, that accent's a panty dropper, okay? Like, I understand how you're taking, Phil. I don't know how she didn't wife you up, you know? You said you aren't going to get married kind of a thing. You haven't proposed. I don't know how she hasn't because you got that silky smooth voice.
It's
Okay.
kind of like corpse. Which can you even say that's an accent?
What'd
Do
you say?
you know what I'm talking about? Just
I have no idea. I thought you just meant like a dead person. You're just like,
Yep.
borderline necrophilia, but like, when you go up to a dead body,
when they're dead,
push,
but like a little bit of air comes out. Like,
their dying breath. Like, that's what I enjoy. That's the best accent.
That's the good stuff.
Possible.
Oh my god, no. I don't even know how to like dig myself out of this hole where the corpse is.
That's where the corpses were. Yep.
He has.
You're good.
I don't know. You'll have to look up Corpse Husband. He plays a lot of like Among Us with people, but he also has a YouTube channel where he like narrates scary stories. He has the deepest voice I've ever heard, and without getting like too graphic, it does things to me when I hear his voice, and
hot damn.
I mean,
the craziest
I get
voice
it.
I've
My
ever
wife
heard.
once told me that if she could get a dildo made out of the Volbeat singer's voice, that she would do it. And I was like, I feel like that's an area of the sex toy market that nobody's really gone into. Because, I mean, you can actually take a waveform and make a solid object out of it. Just saying. Like, it's possible. So, for me, that was a serious, definitely... British accents, they're sweet. They're super awesome. New Zealand accents, they're sweet. I'm gonna be I don't know. I feel like American accents are pretty much the most boring.
They are.
Like, and the crazy thing is, like, there are different American accents.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, you can have a Southern accent. You're like, what? But I guess that actually exists in other places too.
Yeah,
so.
for sure.
Yeah. So Zach Durham writes in and says, have either of you, like any of us, ever played Affordable Space Adventures? It's one of my favorite indie games and just one of the best couch co-op experiences, but not many people have played it because it is stuck on the Wii U. It's stuck in Wii U purgatory. It only works on the hardware because of one of the players uses the touchscreen in the controller to power the levels and landing gear of the ship functions, while other players look at the TV screen and control actual ship movement. But if either of you have a Wii U, I would definitely recommend checking this out. So, Kaitlyn, do you have a Wii U for some reason that's not a paperweight? And have you played Affordable Space Adventures?
I'm pretty sure you can't see it. I'm pretty sure it's up there in that closet.
Oh, nice. Okay.
There you go.
But I also have one in a box in New York that's so much dust. So much. It hasn't been taken out of this box. I've moved like 6 times since it's been put into this one box. So yeah, technically I have a couple Wii U's. Haven't played it since in years. I haven't played it in years. Before the Switch came out, I was like done with it years before the Switch came out. I was like, I don't even know why I own this thing.
I love that you haven't played it in so long that you can't give any sort of time frame. You're just like, I haven't played it since sometime.
I'm literally
like
just
since
basing it
before
off
this
of, like the layers of dust that's on it. Like
it's like carbon dating.
Yeah, it's gross.
That's awesome. Josh, have you played Affordable Space Adventures? And when you eventually buy a Wii U, because you look like a Wii U guy to me. If I ever saw one, you'd be like, yeah, I like these weird peripherals that for some reason have to come with my consoles. Like, will you play Affordable Space Adventures?
I mean, I had a Wii U. Yeah, I don't anymore.
I knew it, dude. Fucking did it. I called you out. I got you.
I mean, I'm also a Nintendo boy, so like, not a hard guess. Yeah, no, I had a Wii U. I don't have it anymore. I love that Nintendo does like weird, innovative shit, but it also does exactly this, where games are just fucking like, I'm in purgatory. No one can play me. I watched the video of it. Affordable Space Adventures actually looks pretty cool. It reminds me of another game that's kind of similar. It's called Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time. I would definitely check out that one. Real fun, very chaotic, and it has the same kind of concept of like multiple people controlling a ship and like trying to run throughout the ship to get to different parts of it. A little different, obviously, just because it is, but like you might like it if you like the Affordable Space Adventure one.
All of these like co-op games just like painfully makes me aware of how single I am.
That's what I was thinking too,
just
actually.
like literally
like I can't play with my wife, so
painfully alone.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
The
You gotta
struggle
love
is
that.
real.
Yeah, in the Corona time, you gotta love when you realize that you have no actual friends.
I had to delete like the dating apps because people got so weird during the pandemic that I couldn't take it anymore.
It's no longer just about feet pics. It's now just like, I just want to feel the warmth of another person's breath on my face. Like, if I come to your window, just like I'll press my face against your screen door and you just breathe.
Like, we'll wear hazmat suits and hold hands. That's all I want.
So sweet.
That's a sweet thing. I don't know why you're shitting on them, but you're like, I don't have a hazmat suit, and they send you a picture and they're just wrapped in like cellophane wrap. They're just like homemade. You can't even tell.
But then they show up and they're like, guess what I'm wearing underneath this? And it's nothing.
Yeah, that actually checks out.
Yeah.
That sounds like dating apps. I'm so glad, like, my wife and I often talk about how if we had to date as adults in 2020, it would be impossible because we were high school sweethearts. I've never actually been really with anybody else, but I would be so terrified to do it. Just nowadays, it would fucking suck.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Just like made the decision that I will not be dating on apps during a pandemic, and I'll just wait until my 30s.
It's fucking rough. Yeah, I would not do it. Like if for some reason my wife and I weren't together now, I would just be like, well, I'm good. Like I would just not. I hated it so much.
I'm already.
You'll just be celibate.
Maybe.
You know what? Just.
It checks out.
I'll simp over.
You're already what?
Oh, I was gonna say I'll simp over like fictional characters and just move on with my life.
100%, dude. Honestly, I can't name a time I've resonated with you more other than when you basically were talking about how thirsty, like how Hades is a thirst trap. I was like, yeah, dude, I fucking get it. When you went on Active Quest and talked about it, I was like, I get it. I definitely get it.
I still play it. I love it.
I would too.
God, it's so good.
I mean, actually, I can't even say I would too because I haven't played it in a long time, but I get it.
Yeah.
Zagreus, he's a cute boy.
Except for like
So-
Zagreus, he's just kind of like I just want to make sure he's just like okay. Like I just want to
Okay.
I want to love him, but like platonic.
He's your tormented puppy dog?
Yes. That's what it is.
Okay.
I'll marry Hades.
All right.
All right then.
The chonky boy? All right, cool. Whatever. Philip Renshaw, the Wombat Emperor of Canada, writes in and says, if you three were stranded with no hope of rescuing on a desert island, who would survive the longest? Big Josh boy, I'm going to let you go first since apparently you're afraid that this is going to hurt people's feelings.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
I was talking with a buddy of mine when this came up, and I was reading it last night because we were just on Discord, and I said, if the three of us were stranded, who would survive? And my buddy goes, oh, that's easy, you. And I was like, why? And he's like, Vaughn looks like he would fucking die 30 minutes into the sun. And I was like,
100%.
yeah. And I was like, Kaitlyn might too. I don't know. And like, I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but I was like, yeah, I think I would just survive because of that. Like, you two would
Because
just
I'm
melt.
a day walker. You're just like, Vaughn would literally like pop into the sunshine and just...
Yeah. You would just roast, dude.
This is a good question. My mom once told me, and this is how I'm going to base it off this. It's more of like why I would survive. She told me if I was in the Donner Party, I would have survived. Which, if you know what the Donner Party had to do and resort to,
Yeah.
apparently my mom thinks that that's something that I would just be 100% for and would do. So,
Gross.
I mean, considering the sidestepping, I'm assuming you're talking about cannibalism.
Yeah.
Nope.
And your mom is just like, you look like somebody who would eat someone's butt cheek. Like, you look like that person.
yeah, when she told me, I was like, I don't know if this is a compliment or not. I still don't know.
think it
It's
is.
been years. She claims it is. I don't think it is.
I like how you say she claims it is. Like, it's still, like, every now and then you're just like, but, like, give me a little bit of more info on why exactly you think I'd eat people.
Because-
and she's just like, you know what? Just looking at you, I think you're a cannibal.
Yeah, because then she follows it up with, she goes, I wouldn't survive, but you would. I'm like, great.
Oh, nice.
Your standards for meat quality far lower than mine. I would die instantly, 100%. I would even, like, if I was on a deserted island, I don't think I have the survival instincts enough to not just die. Like, to not just, my body, like, my brain would be like, you have to survive. My body would just be like, nah, and just, like, die.
Give up.
Kind of a thing. Yeah, it just sounds like too much work, so I think I would just die. 100%. Definitely, like, apparently Kaitlyn will eat people, and Josh won't die in the sun. So, if anyone's, I guess the question is more, like, who would survive the longest? I think they would, it's who would survive the least. And it would literally, like, second my eyes open, I just shut them, dead.
Yeah, I guess Kaitlyn and I would just eat you.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then
good
maybe,
point.
And then maybe you and I would both survive because of added nourishment.
Dude, I've got the thickness. You guys got a lot to eat
It's true.
here, so
I've seen that donk.
You'd survive a while. Don't worry. Like, feel free to cut me open like a tauntaun.
Thank you.
And just eat me.
I'm glad you're giving.
Like, it's fine.
I'm glad you're giving like us consent.
It's for the greater good.
I'm a sacrificing human being.
Yeah.
I'm not that selfish, you know. So Philip Renshaw also says diversity in video games became a huge topic in the early to mid part of the last decade. Do you feel that in 2021 we have enough diversity in the indie game space, or does more work need to be done? Kaitlyn, what do you think? Does more work need to be done in diversity in indie games specifically?
Yes.
I mean, I asked
like,
specifically just because the larger
I know.
games industry, of course, like, that's natural, but indie games are kind of a different niche.
Mm-hmm.
They are, however, I think it's still much easier for you to be a white male who wants to make a video game and get people to back you. Yeah, there always needs to be diversity. I think Philip said like early to the mid past like part of the last decade. No, like these conversations about diversity have been going on forever. Just people weren't listening. And I think there's just still a long way to go. I think we're always going to have problems with diversity, and it's always going to be a conversation that needs to be talked about. And yeah.
That was a satisfactory answer. That was good. Obviously, like, let's be real. I mean, not even for the reasons that you may think it would be easier for somebody who sadly looks like Josh or I.
I know, that's
like,
what
it
I
would
was
be
saying.
so much easier.
We're probably not the
for you
best
to
people to be talking about diversity. I was like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just so sad. Like, just in general, the way that all of this kind of compiles, there could always be more diversity. Like, just especially in video games, considering it's such like a, like, for the most part, it's very seemingly like a white male dominated, like, part. I've totally am losing my train of thought there.
Industry?
But yeah, in industry, yeah, it always use more industry. And I don't think the conversation should really ever stop. Like, you should always be like, could we be more diverse? Like, for a decent amount of time, like, Josh and I, like, we really weren't kidding. We were looking for a third for a while. And some of the things that we wanted was somebody who was not like us. Basically, not a cis white male kind of a thing. We were just like, we need someone else because we basically have the same thoughts and ideas.
Yeah.
Like, it's a thing. So I personally think it could use a lot more as well. Josh, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much have the same point of view. I think that the indie game space is obviously a little bit more diverse in the idea of like a AAA studio. Like, there was just an article that came out about how like Mass Effect 2 was supposed to have a character who was more on the side of, I think it was like a transgender thing. I can't remember exactly, but like Fox News like shut it down kind of a thing. And like, that's just a part of, you know, the world is changing. That would probably be okay now. But like, even just look at how many people went fucking ballistic over what is it? The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh, yeah.
People fucking lost their mind. Just that there was a female as the main character. Like, grow the fuck up. What? Who cares? What? Like that's the thing. Is like, with indie games, it's a lot different because like I mentioned, it's a passion project. It's a studio who wants to build something, who builds something that is representative of who they want to see in a game, right? Which is great. But as Kaitlyn mentioned, a lot of people don't have the access to go about this and don't get to tell their story because of the same socio-economic like standards that have us kind of make it so it's easier for, unfortunately, white people to be predominant in either this industry or any industry that has more say in different places. Like it sucks. And I think that like diversity should always be, like we said, a conversation around this. And like there's always more work to do. But I will say that, you know, at least we are taking steps. I at least it seems in the right direction. It's just you need to go more. But yeah, it's pretty much it.
I want to encourage people to go and like actively, like, you should always be thinking about diversity. And if you're looking at like, oh, what do I like, I want to say you can invest money and you want to invest money in like an indie game developer, like look for those like developers who have a they're more diverse, like, because they're going to have, if they're already like the odds are against them. And there's I can't think of the name. There are a couple of companies out there that are actively like trying to do loans and like sponsor more diverse voices. Like look for those diverse voices and listen to them. This is like, again, one of those questions where it's like, if you're white, it's like, we just can't speak to this to the extent that someone who is not white or they can. So I implore people to like diverse, like the people you're listening to and watching and the games you're playing. Like you should just actively always be thinking about it so that you're not just taking in the same opinions and point of views from all the media that you consume. My 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, like you pointed out, there are companies that do this kind of stuff. Josh and I talked about it. I believe it was during the Wholesome Snack Direct that they did. They actually had somebody on there who was talking about, honestly, I feel bad that I forget the actual name of it, just like Kaitlyn, but there are companies that are very specifically trying to fund like diverse indie game groups of people. So obviously, once again, just not like white people kind of a thing. So it was called it's the thing you're talking about was Slice of Life, which was a vinyl record that was created that has all of the like very chill and wholesome games like music from them, and it was created based on the Galaxy Fund, which is it's a grant for women, people of color, LGBT plus. It's all about like people who are creating game studios that are of a diverse background. Yeah, exactly. I think it's great that they exist. And in that conversation, Josh and I even talked about how things are kind of like changing and they need to change toward people investing their money in things like the Galaxy Fund, where it's kind of like, you know, at least your money, like you're giving your money to a good cause kind of a thing. Similar to like, I like how a lot of people who are like going to purchase the new like Hogwarts Legacy game, I believe is what it's called, something like that, are also donating to the Trevor Project. They're like, I'm going to play the game, but I'm going to give $60 to the Trevor Project just because of like the transphobic statements of J.K. Rowling. So I definitely think it's awesome. It's always something that we can work more toward. So our last question is from Sam Filian from Canada. He says, what games in your backlog do you want to finish most? That was his first. He's got quite a few questions. So what game in your backlog do you want to finish most, Kaitlyn?
I like all of the BioWare games. I never played through Mass Effect. I played a little bit of Andromeda, but
good one to start with.
I never finished it because I didn't throw away my Xbox, but I killed it and put it away.
You threw it away. It's fine. You can just say it.
I treated it poorly. I need to replay Mass Effect games. I never played the Dragon Age games. I had Dragon Age Inquisition and started that on the Xbox. Didn't finish it. I'm hoping they come out with like a whole remaster for the Dragon Age games because I can't get like the first 2 at all on PlayStation. I'm pretty sure. But
Yeah, I mean, I imagine if they see success of the remaster or just the trilogy re-release for the Mass Effect games, I imagine that they would possibly do
Same.
something similar for the Dragon Age. But
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But that's like my top. I need to play Mass Effect and Dragon Age. They're
great games. I've played them all. They're great.
Two biggest gaps in my gaming catalog.
Yeah, that's funny because that's actually mine. Not the Dragon Age part, but Mass Effect. I played the first one and played fully through it, but it just didn't capture me. And I think the way I explained it was like I had come from the high of KOTOR and then went to Mass Effect, and I was like, this isn't what I want because it wasn't like KOTOR. But I think I just judged it because I was just like, I don't want it kind of a thing, but I want to actually try 2 and 3 and like go through the story and give it another shot. So I'm basically just waiting for the trilogy to come out and play through them all.
Nice.
Awesome. For me, I'm going to be honest, like there are so many games in my backlog that I want to finish. I would say there are 2 that are top of the list that I'm going to finish this year. 1, Hollow Knight, 2, Moonlighter. Have to finish them. I love these games too much to not have fucking beat them. Yeah. It's ridiculous, honestly.
Okay.
Like it's crazy.
We're the same person because I've tried to finish Hollow Knight and I love it so much. And I'm so excited for Silksong. Haven't finished the game. That's
motherfucker.
I don't. God.
The same person.
I know. I'm glad you mentioned that.
So the next question is, what long-running game series do you regret never getting into? Kaitlyn, is there one that you're just like, ugh, other than I guess like, I mean, you can obviously say this is the ones you've already brought up.
Those are the only ones that I can think of.
Okay.
Mass Effect and Dragon Age. I guess, can you call Skyrim a series? Because with like Elder Scrolls and
yeah, you could say like the Elder Scrolls series in general.
Yeah, I probably would really like it. I've just never tried it. Never got into it. I don't know.
Checks out.
Yeah.
It's pretty buggy.
It just feels like it's been too long since Skyrim came out that I can't like start playing it. I don't know. That's
Are you
ridiculous.
sure? Because it's on every single thing that you can
platform.
Imagine.
I know. And Em, who is on our podcast, she has bought it. It's like her most bought game, and she's played it so many times.
Oh my God.
She would love if I played it. I just,
Sure.
I don't know.
You just can't make her dreams come true.
No, and maybe that's what's stopping me.
Maybe.
I don't want to please anyone.
Shit, we are the same person. Josh, what game series would you like to play? What do you regret not getting into?
I talked about this on the stream last time. The Resident Evil series. I've never played a Resident Evil game. I like spooky stuff, so I feel like I would, but I've always been turned off by like tank controls, and that's kind of why I didn't. But like, there's so many people who love the Resident Evil series, and there's so many games in it. And it's one of those things where like when you see so many games, you're like, it's kind of like an anxiety thing where you're like, I don't want to start one because then I got to play all of them, or I got to get into this whole world and this genre. It's just like, it's overwhelming. But I don't know. I've been thinking about it. I might end up picking up the Resident Evil 2 remake one day and playing through that because I feel like that's a good one to start with. But
Got to beef up so you could play Village and get sat on by Vampire Mommy?
I mean, hell yeah, dude. I made that joke earlier, but that big object one, what do I want in my life? That fucking vampire lady. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Everybody
teacher,
gets it.
I would like to change my answer to what Josh said because
Hell
I haven't
yeah.
played the Resident Evil series for like literally the same things that you just said, and I love spooky stuff, and I want to play Village because yeah, Witch Lady and Vampire Lady, both of them, they can do anything to me.
You like step on me, mommy.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's what I tweeted. I was like, please step on me.
So for me, a long-running game series that I regret not getting into, there are a few, and I'm going to make Chris Penwa happy, one, with saying I wish so badly. Actually, this might make him happy twice. One, Persona. I just wish I played these games. I've played Persona 4 a little bit on the Vita, but really didn't. And then, like, I own Persona 4 I have it on the Vita, I have it on the PlayStation 2, and I have it on PC. Still have yet to play it. And here's the thing, too. Persona 5, I also own on PlayStation 4. Have yet to play it.
Damn.
It's just not happening. Like, Eldar wants me to play it so badly, and I told him that it's not going to happen. I was like, my PlayStation 4 is a Netflix machine, okay? It is only to watch old episodes of Bones. That's it. This is what I use it for. So, really, Persona would be one. Kingdom Hearts would be another. I really want to play those games just so I understand what people like about them so much, because I find people's passion for these games so intriguing, but it's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen.
I know we've said that we're the same person, but we literally are the same person. I just bought Persona 5 Royal. Yeah, I couldn't remember which one it is because everybody.
It looks like Royale. They're the same.
Yeah,
word.
everyone keeps telling me to play it. Haven't played them. Kingdom Hearts scares me. Like, there's just too many games, but I wish I understood, because seeing all of the memes out of context, like, breaks my brain. I'm like, this looks like literally the weirdest game ever. That gif of, like, Winnie the Pooh's ghost, like, his spirit, I don't know, floating through this up into the ceiling. I'm like, it's insane.
It's a strange story. Even if you play the games, it's still hard to follow.
Wild.
I mean, dude, I've played a little bit of Kingdom Hearts, and I'm not even joking. Like, that's why I think Squall is so cool from Final Fantasy, because he's in it. And I was like, bro has a gun. Yeah. What? He has a gun sword. That shit is dope as fuck. Like, I want to play that Final Fantasy game just because he has a gun sword and he was in Kingdom Hearts. But that is the end of this podcast. Thanks, everyone, so much for listening. Of course, this was a bit of a long episode, but not bad. Not bad. It's a good episode. It's a good one. Thank you so much, Kaitlyn, for joining us. Where can people find you if they would like to catch up with your content?
Yes, thank you. This was a blast, and I'm so glad you guys had me on. You can find me on Twitter at Kaitlyn Redwing, or on Big Sweert, which is spelled incorrectly, and it's SWEERT. But on Twitter, and we have a YouTube channel where we post our podcasts on.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Of course, you can check us out at IndiePod on Twitter. Super easy to find. It's literally the name of the podcast. That's why we did it that way. Yeah, it's why Big Josh Boy, he's a creative boy. He decided it.
Got that big brain.
Just shove them as deep into my head as I can. That, of course, you can hit us up there to get your questions written or answered on the show. You can check out our episodes that we post about, the developer interviews, the indie games news that we post, and so much more. You can hit me up, Vaughn, at Hyde Legion. That's HYDELEGION over on Twitter for all of my dumb bullshit and I guess notifications of when I start Twitch streaming, which is I believe it is 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays, and 8:30 p.m. to 11 o'clock is when Josh and I stream on Thursday for indie games. Super fun. I'm playing a lot of Risk of Rain. It's good stuff. It's fun. I love that big boy. He's walking me through game after game. It's really nice of him. Josh, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at _George90, because that one person still has _George for some reason. And you can find me on, I know. And you can find me on,
Kaitlyn will beat him up.
I hope so. You can find me on Twitch at _George. I seldomly stream now, but once the new Binding of Isaac DLC comes out, you'll see me there every day, or you know what I'm saying? All the time. I don't know. But otherwise, yeah, just the IndiePod YouTube, because any of the stuff that we make goes there.
Awesome. That is it for this episode. Thanks, everyone, so much for listening. Actually, it's not, because I almost forgot again. Just going to reiterate our housekeeping. Check out the Thomas Olsen developer interview. Josh, say the name of the game again.
Olia.
There you go. That game. The developer interview is going out on Wednesday, and I believe the day after is when the game actually comes out. So listen to the developer interview. Check out the game when it comes out. It looks very, very cool. Of course, it's going live on Wednesday, one day after for patrons, 2 days before for plebes. Check out the IndiePod store over on Teespring for t-shirts and stickers, soon to be other stuff eventually when somebody else does it for me. Check out our YouTube channel, IndiePod, for video episodes of this podcast and video reviews all sorts of fun stuff. We post our Twitch streams, VODs over there, so check them out. Please leave us reviews on any service that you can, including iTunes, I guess including and specifically iTunes, because apparently it helps. I still don't understand how.
Why not?
And lastly, thank you so much to our patrons. We've got Will C, Mix Mitosis, a.k.a. Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Runshaw, the Wombat Emperor of Australia, Chris Penwell, always slurping down that tea. He's guzzling it, dude. That's what he does every day, all day, every day. Josh Nichols, active Josh. I'm just going to throw that one in there so everybody knows. Great
Why
guy.
not?
He's great. And Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you all so much for being patrons. You're amazing. And we will talk to everybody next week.
Bye, y'all.